Hello, everyone. I know y'all weren't expecting us so early.
I know this is the earliest we ever been on, and probably
It's
ever.
good. I always tell y'all I like early. If the sun is out, I just feel joyful. I can talk to y'all for a good minute. Now, when that sun go down, I'm ready to go to bed. We could be up with y'all all night. I'll be ready to go on to bed. So today we're talking about atheism, surprise, surprise. But we're not going to speak about it in a caricature or in a way of insult, rather than in a way of discovery. I think it's time for us to understand that atheism is a real belief system, like not one of the things that you like push off into the corner in the dark. People really follow this ideology, and it's more than just not believing in God. Not believing in God is not the only standard of atheism. It's more about the fact that they have perspectives about all types of things, about, you know, suffering, purpose, consciousness. And so I think that with this ideology should be tested. We should be able to have conversations about it and move forward in conversations in a progressive way, in a less circular conversation. So that's the focus. What
Yep.
do you think, Mr. Carson? What do you think?
Oh, let me pin this because I forgot to pin these this into the chat. I'm pinning them to join the conversation in the chat.
Brenda, you always are so early. You really do love to support us. We are happy you're here.
Oh, Brenda's here.
Brenda's the first comment we got.
Oh, sorry, y'all. I'm adding in for y'all to be able to join. Gotta link it to the studio because I gotta log into the studio app. So that way y'all can join this conversation and tell me and my wife why is there an atheist dilemma? Sounds like somebody just joined.
Brenda.
Huh?
Brenda.
All right. So I pinned it. I pinned it to both the vertical and the horizontal.
So anyone can join.
Yep.
Now,
All right, let's go.
y'all know y'all don't know, but we're gonna bring Brenda up. But what I'll tell you, Brenda, is we have to have a productive conversation today. We like that you interact. We appreciate your support for the channel. But the thing is, Brenda, when we have our perspectives, we can share them. And when you have your perspective, you can share them. But you can't start lying, Brenda. You do get on here and you do start lying. You'll start saying that we said things we didn't say, and we'll go back and forth and back and forth. So today, let's just have a productive conversation. I know that you had a conversation with Malik and Mike last week, and today I'm here. So let's do this. Let's have this real conversation. What up? How are you today, Brenda?
Right. So I would prefer that you not lie and say that I have lied. I have not lied.
Brenda.
That's really it's really offensive.
Okay.
To
Well,
tell
let's
me
move.
I'm
I
lying
apologize.
when
I
I'm not.
apologize. Okay, I apologize. So let's move forward. How you doing
Right.
today?
And it's really offensive to say that atheists lie. They don't. And we don't
Okay.
hate our belief system. If we hated our belief system, we wouldn't have it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So our belief, atheism, is an attitude about a proposition. The proposition is God exists. Our attitude about that is that it's false. And it's false for various reasons because the theists have failed to provide justification for their claim that God exists. That's all that atheism is. Atheism is not a worldview. It's not an ideology. It's simply a single belief. There are many different types of atheists, right? Technically, Buddhists are atheists. Technically, people who believe in spiritism, like there are spirits and ghosts and a spiritual world, they're atheists because they don't believe in God. You can not believe in God and believe in a spiritual realm. I happen to be a physicalist. I believe in the physical world, right? But other atheists can have very different beliefs from me, right? So you can't make these broad sweeping generalizations about people and expect to get away with it. We're going to call you out. We're going to call you out on your false claims that you make about us.
Okay, respectfully, I think we have to get a basis of what atheism is at the definition perspective,
Yeah.
because when you say atheism, some atheists don't believe the same things I believe. This creates a certain nuance that I think that believers in any God don't really understand. So I think that a lot of times these conversations are more for clarity, but I think the offensiveness that you get because of the questions is the difficulty in the progression of the conversation.
Right. So atheism is one belief, and all
Okay.
atheists have this one belief. And the
Which
one
is
belief they
what?
have,
Which is what?
He about to
that
tell
the
us.
proposition God exists is not true.
Okay.
That's it.
So
So I have a
That's
it's
it.
question
a
for you,
belief.
Brenda.
It's a belief, correct?
All knowledge is a subset of belief, right? Belief is something that you hold mentally in your head to be true. For instance, you can believe that the moon is made out of green cheese, right? That belief is false, right? I believe that the moon is made out of moon dust or moon rocks or something, whatever you want to say. That belief is true. So that constitutes knowing. Knowing is when you have a true belief that has met the standards for justification. You have to have a justified, true belief. So all knowledge is a justified, true belief. So all knowledge is a subset. Think back to where you had the big
Yeah,
circle. There's a big
that's
circle that says belief.
I don't
Inside
disagree.
of that big circle is a smaller
Hold
circle
on.
that says knowledge.
I don't want to go in a circle. So let's just narrow it down, right? So I understand we're talking about beliefs, but this is so broad that this can go in circles, right? So we have to
No,
narrow it down.
no, you're not
As in
understanding
you,
the
you
example
as
I
in
gave you. You know
no,
what a
that's fine.
Venn, do you
That's
know what a
fine.
Venn diagram is?
You as an
Brenda,
atheist.
hold on,
You,
Emily, real quick, real
do you
quick.
know what a
You,
Venn?
Brenda, we're gonna talk and then you're gonna talk, but we're not gonna have you
you
interject
can't go on a tangent.
over you.
It's
Yeah.
not a tangent.
Hold on. Okay, but this is still we're gonna discuss the things we want to discuss today, not what you want to discuss. So you're gonna let us go and then we're gonna let you go. But you're not gonna be able to go on for 5 minutes, and then when we start speaking, you start speaking over us. Then we're not having a productive conversation. Agreed?
Yeah. So the thing is we don't want to I don't disagree with you about this word belief, but what we have to narrow down is atheism is in fact a faith. Yes or no?
False.
Okay, tell me how.
It is a belief that the proposition God exists is false.
No, it's a faith. You have
No,
faith
that's
that
not
there
what
is
faith.
no you have
What is
faith that
faith?
you have faith that there is no God. Yes or no?
False. False.
So then
False. What is faith?
you're
What
just
is faith?
so
What
then
do
are you just assuming?
what do you mean by faith?
I just gave you an example.
No, but what is
Do
your,
you
because
believe?
Christians,
Do you?
Carson, different Christians have different ideas about what faith means, and I'm trying to figure out what you mean when you say having faith. What do you mean by having faith?
Having faith means that you are having a belief in things that are unseen based off of a promise of the unseen.
Yeah, that's not what I mean by faith.
Yeah, that is exactly what it means
No,
as well for you.
excuse me. I told you what I mean. That is
No,
not a chance for you to tell me what
have
I
you
mean.
have you
That's
seen
called gaslighting.
have you seen
Stop
God?
it.
Have you seen God?
Faith means
Have you seen God?
have you seen air?
Have you seen God?
Have you seen the air?
Have
No,
you
but we have
seen
faith
God?
I
that
have
there is air.
no,
Hold
I don't
on.
have faith that there's air. I know that there's air
Have you
How do you
seen
know?
God? No, we're not talking
because
about Brenda. This is what I'm saying. You're going besides the point. We're talking
it's
about
not.
yes, we're talking about
You
atheism.
are just
We're,
intellectually
you're,
unable to
talk-
follow the conversation.
you're talking about atheism, not air. So answer the question.
It's a
Have you seen God? Atheism is lacking the belief that there is a God. So because you lack belief that there is a God, you have to have faith in something of the unseen God, which if you're just the opposite of me, I have faith that there is a God of the unseen God. You have faith that of the lack of an unseen God. Yes?
wrong. You
Have
didn't
seen,
listen to what I told you. You didn't listen. You didn't
have
listen.
you seen God?
You didn't listen. No,
Have,
I've not seen. I've not seen
okay.
God.
So then you
Have you
have faith
seen?
that he doesn't exist,
No,
even though you haven't seen
no,
him.
that's wrong. I told you why. I explained to you what the difference between faith and knowledge is. I have not seen the air. I can't see the wind, but I don't have faith that there's wind. I know that there's a wind.
Okay,
Again,
so
you're
how
going
do you
to
know?
you're
Okay,
not
we're okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Right?
I can concede. I can
You
understand.
can't
That's fine.
follow.
That's
You
fine.
can't follow the argument.
No, that's fine.
It
That's
really
fine. But that's not what we want to talk about. I want
right.
to ask you
So
a question, Brenda.
right, you
Brenda,
don't want
I
to
want to
talk.
hear. No, I want to talk about what I want to talk about. So I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever believed in God?
Yeah, I was raised a what was our synod? It was a Lutheran. I was raised Lutheran.
Okay, and I'm not familiar with Lutheran. What is that?
Catholicism light.
Okay,
it's
so
just another it's just
I, I didn't know what
Kind.
was.
another branch of it's Christianity.
It's Protestant. It's a Protestant belief system, and ours was a liberal, fairly liberal denomination. I forget the name of it. Some Lutherans are very conservative. Some are very liberal. It was pretty liberal here. I live in Minnesota.
Mhm.
It was pretty just very typical. I was taught, for instance, that biblical literalists commit the idolatry of the text. So when you believe in the literal word of God, that's idolatry.
That's very interesting. So y'all did not believe in the Bible?
Oh, we absolutely believed in the Bible. We
Okay.
just believed that biblical literalists, fundamentalists, are idolaters because they worship the Bible, not God.
Did y'all believe that the Bible was the word of God?
Of course, it's the word of God, but you don't worship the word of God. You worship God, not his word, right?
No, the Bible.
Yes. You don't
No,
worship the word. Why would you? The Bible is a book. That's
Mhm.
idolatry.
the
That's
word.
idolatry.
You're talking about worshiping the physical book.
That's what fundamentalists do.
Okay.
The word was God, and the word was with God.
It's not a
What
book, is it, though?
what is his word?
It's not a book, is it?
His word is in the book.
Right, but it's
Right,
not
but I think that he's saying that they
identical with the
worship the
book.
actual physical book. That's what he's saying.
Right.
He's saying they worshipped
Yes,
the book. Like this is like God
yes.
to them.
Yes, for fundamentalists, right? They take the book of the Bible literally, right?
Mhm.
Rather than interpreting it to see the actual word of God is infused. It is in spiritually, the authors, it was written by men who were inspired by God. They're inspired by the Holy Spirit to write the books, to write the book
So when the Bible,
of Mark, Luke, John, all those people. It's not the actual words, how they wrote them down. It's the inspiration that is behind the words. So the word of God is behind the actual text. The text is what the man wrote. The inspiration comes from the Holy Spirit, inspired the authors of Mark, Luke, and John to write the words they did. So our task as Christians, as Lutherans, was to understand the inspired word of God, not the literal word of God.
so when the
And
Bible says thou shalt not murder, is that literal or an interpretation?
you have to interpret that.
So that's not literal.
Right. Because murder depends, right? Murder is simply illegal killing, isn't it?
No.
It's a law. Murder is a law, and you have to interpret the law, right?
So
right?
you
Because you
believe
can
that
kill somebody. You can
you
kill
don't believe
somebody.
that murder is right or wrong. It's
You can.
just
Murder is always wrong.
So then this is literal, not an interpretation. When the
No,
Bible
murder
says,
is that's the difference. So murder is an illegal killing.
mhm.
It is legal to kill somebody under certain for self-defense, for example. Right?
we're not,
That's not murder.
I didn't say thou shall not kill. I said the Bible says thou shall not murder. This is the
Yes.
actual word. So
Yes, and then you have to interpret.
We're not
So
talking
you,
about killing, sir.
yeah, but so you have to interpret the word murder. You have to interpret it, right?
No, that's literal.
Yes, you do,
No,
because it
murder
exists in a
murder literal. We didn't say
No,
kill. We didn't say
it's
kill.
not literal.
We said murder.
No, it's not literal. It has to be interpreted.
Is the definition of kill and the definition of murder different?
Of course they are.
Okay, so when it says thou should not murder, is that literal, or are you going to say that that's a killing?
That means that's an interpretation
Of what?
of an unjustified killing, right? You have to
So
understand.
then it is
If
what?
you,
It is
Carson,
a what?
if you kill somebody and you go before the judge, then
didn't
you
say
have to
kill.
then you have to
Murder.
justify. You have to justify to the judge and says, Judge, I was justified in killing that man because
You keep
otherwise he
going to
was
the word
going to
killing.
kill me.
Why do you keep going to
Otherwise,
killing?
that's an interpretation.
Why do you keep going to the word killing? I said murder. I didn't say killing.
I'm explaining something, the concept to you.
Yes, but you're going to the word killing. You just said that killing
Yes.
and murder have two different meanings.
Yes,
I said
and
the Bible says thou shalt not murder.
right.
And why do you keep going to killing? This is not what we're
In
talking
order to
about.
explain to you what the difference between killing and murder is. That's why.
This is why I think that atheism is
It's not atheism.
no, but your belief.
This doesn't have anything to do with atheism.
Your belief
This
is
is just
atheism, which is
no. This doesn't have anything to do with atheism,
distorting,
dude.
It's distorting the way your thinking process is, because you can't
What is it?
decipher. Hold on, you can't decipher if something is literal or not literal, even though it's giving you the literal word. I'm giving you
What does literal mean?
I'm giving you the literal word of
Yeah,
murder.
what does it mean?
You keep going to killing.
Right.
Okay,
So
I
what
have a
does
question.
murder?
Just
What
to-
does
just to
murder
interject
mean?
really quickly?
Okay,
Just to
we're gonna pivot. Okay.
Oh, I didn't
Go
want to
ahead,
pivot.
pivot.
Excuse me. I just wanted to interject.
Oh, you're
But go ahead.
pivoting. You're pivoting because Carson here
No, go
can't
ahead and continue.
understand what
Go
is
ahead and
what is
continue.
what does murder mean?
Mhm.
You tell me, smart guy.
What does it mean?
You tell me.
You said it's literal. What does it mean?
No, you said it's not. So you tell me, since words don't have meaning. You tell
Yeah.
me. You tell me.
No, your claim. I'm trying to understand your position. You're saying that murder is literal, right?
My position is when God says, "Thou shalt not murder," is that literal? You said no, and I'm trying
Correct.
to figure out why.
Because it requires an interpretation. That's why.
So does the word
So
murder? Is that
every
not
word
plain simple?
requires an interpretation to your standard, right, Brenda?
Yeah, a literal interpretation or a metaphorical interpretation.
Right. So by what does definition mean at all then? If
Exactly.
words can't be
The
defined.
conditions of satisfaction for the meaning of the word, right? So murder can mean one thing in one country and another thing in another country, right? It could be legal to kill somebody for certain circumstances in
But the
one
legality
country, and
doesn't change the definition.
no, it does,
No, it
because
does not.
that's what murder means. Murder means a legal killing. That's what it means.
Murder means a legal killing.
Of course,
No, it
it
does
means
not.
that. What does it mean then?
Okay, let's look up the definition.
What does it mean?
If it's legal,
I'll
then
look it up.
if it's legal, then why are they going to jail for it?
That was very.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. I got a little bit hot.
Oh,
Murder is an illegal killing,
okay.
right?
So a murder
yeah.
is an illegal killing, and
Right.
okay.
No.
And so if a
Right.
No,
murder,
that's not what murder is. That's not what murder is.
okay,
It's not. What is it? What is it then?
let's just look up the definition so we don't have to keep going.
What does murder mean? It just murder means an
Murder is
illegal
the
killing.
intentional. The murder is the intentional and unlawful killing of another
There
human
you go.
being.
An
Okay.
illegal killing, right?
Okay.
So do I get an
Intentional-
apology from you for telling me that I'm being disingenuous, huh? Do I get an apology?
Well, Brenda,
Do I get an apology?
Can you I'm going to answer. So the reason he said that it wasn't the definition is because you left out the word intentional. It is an intentional and unlawful killing. Okay. So now that we have the definition of murder at the baseline, right?
Yes.
When it comes down to right and wrong, do you only base the fact that murder is wrong because the law says it is?
No.
Okay. So what is your basis on murder being wrong?
Because it would prevent the full flourishing of an agent.
It would prevent the full flourishing, meaning it would interrupt someone's life. It would end someone's life. Is that right?
It prevents them from living fully flourishing in their life, right? So I've taken away their ability to have a fulfilling life.
What is fulfilling? Like, do you believe that our life has purpose?
We give our lives purpose.
We do. So our life is, the purpose of our life is just deemed by self.
Yeah, people give their lives purpose.
For what reason? Because in reality,
to satisfy and to fulfill their lives.
So if my purpose is to be like Ted Bundy, then my purpose is fulfilling, right?
No, that would be a contradiction.
No, it's not, because
So
I deem that to be my purpose.
Can purpose only be good?
No, if you agree with me that we should encourage the fulfillment of all agents, right? Then you are contradicting yourself, sort of like, as by analogy, and I know you have trouble with analogies, right? The thief,
Watch it, Brenda.
the thief steals, right? And they think that they are the exception to the rule, that you shouldn't take things from other people without their consent. They appropriate to themselves the right to break the rule, right? That you shouldn't steal from other people, but they will get
My
upset
question is,
if you steal from them.
Steal from other people. Why shouldn't we steal from other people?
Right, because again, we're negating the fulfillment of that person's that agent's life.
Stealing is not negating.
I got a question.
Okay.
So if we were to prevent someone from fulfilling their life, that would be a bad thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then the opposite is true, that it would be a good thing to keep them alive so they can flourish in their life, right? That would be a good thing.
Yes.
Okay, so who deems that this is good?
It's by way of that's simply what it means to be an agent.
Who deems it to be good?
It's logic does.
No, logic is not. Logic doesn't have.
So I give you an answer, and I give you answers, and you just go, nuh-uh.
No, because logic doesn't have a mind.
I didn't say it did.
Logic can't answer. Logic doesn't have a speaking.
Yeah, I didn't say it could.
Bad. This is good.
I didn't say it could. You have the understanding of a 6-year-old.
No, it has to have a mind behind.
Brenda, if you insult, Brenda, hold on. If you insult,
well, you can't follow simple grade school level argument.
Brenda, if you insult, we can have a conversation. But if you insult, we're gonna kick you. That's your first time. If you do it again, you're done, and we're gonna block you from the channel. When we have a conversation, we don't insult you. We ask you questions about your perspective that you want to share. But if you insult, we're going to kick you. So watch it. Until I'm done. I'm going to mute you until I'm done. You don't overtalk and you don't insult, because we don't insult you. Respect us as we respect you.
You don't respect me. You do insult me.
That's your perception, but we have not insulted you. It's not my perception. No, it is. It is. And that's fine. You can have it. But unless we've said something like you're stupid, or we don't, just because we don't agree does not mean that we're insulting you. We're asking you questions about your perspective. And if you're wanting to share, then you're going to refrain from insulting us.
Well, then you need to stop insulting me.
Okay, well, we didn't insult
you. Insult me by misgendering and
we call you Brenda.
Other insults.
That's what you have. What you have on your. Don't start that, because don't start that, because that's not the route we're going to go down. We call you Brenda. That's what you have as your name. If you want to be called something else, just say that you prefer to be called something else. We don't know you. We can't see you. So misgendering you would be pointless to say. let's move on
Well,
from
you
the
do.
perspective that we're sharing. We're going to get back on track. Go ahead, Malik. What were
Well,
you saying?
you do, Mr. And stop it.
No, I'm not going to stop. I'm going. If we're talking,
Right?
you're
Well, then I'm not
going
going
to
to. Right?
stop. You're going to
If you
stop.
want other people to respect you, you need to respect other people.
The question
Okay, what
is,
do you want to be called,
this,
Brenda?
is this
My pronouns are she and her.
Okay, we're not going to call you she and her. We're going to call you
Well,
Brenda.
then I'm not going to respect you.
Okay, so then we're going to kick you.
Right? Yeah. Goodbye, piece of shit.
Okay, bye-bye.
Just because we disagree doesn't mean that we're insulting you. Just because I say I don't agree with you doesn't make it an insult.
The thing is, this is one thing that we have to say about not atheists, because Brenda doesn't represent all atheists, right? But the reality is, you're going to have to answer. No matter who, let's not just say atheist, no matter who, a human being is going to have to answer for their ideology if someone questions it, especially if you're coming to present it. So when you present it and we question it, you can't start going on a rant about something that you prefer to talk about in the middle of the conversation. We're not going to talk about your gender. We're not going to talk about this or that, because then we're going to get into nuances that have nothing to do with the topic. So yeah, we're going to have to move forward. But what I wanted to do, and again, God bless Brenda. We pray for Brenda's soul. We really do. Brenda is cool with us, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to be respectful, especially if you're coming on someone's platform. And Brenda, you're not blocked. You're always welcome.
I'm a little upset that he got that mad, because I was about to corner him.
Well, that's why he got mad, Malik. When we started to ask questions where he started to actually think about his ideology, then and he had to answer for it, he pivots and he said, "You're pivoting. No, we're gonna stay right here." Because what's happened with Brenda each time he's come onto the platform is that he will say, he will be able to go on rants and go in circles, and we've allowed it. But the reality is, you're going to stay on topic and you're going to answer for your beliefs, and you're not going to get upset about it because we're asking you about it.
Yeah, because he had just contradicted what he believes by saying, "Oh, doing this is bad, but doing this is good." If you have no belief that there is a God, then who is the answer as an atheist, Brenda? Who is the answer for your belief as an atheist on why you can say this is bad and why you can say this is good? And that's why he got mad, because
it started to make him uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So then he started to say, "You're misgendering me. You're doing this. You're doing that." We don't know you, Brenda.
We don't know who you are. We can't see your face. None of that. He said, Raza Exotics said he's being hypocritical and insulting.
And it's okay. And again, we already expect and understand what they're gonna do when they come on the platform. This is why we're asking them these specific questions, because the reality is, y'all, we cannot make you believe in Christ. We cannot force anything upon you. But if you're willing to come and have a conversation with us, and we've had many conversations with atheists at this point that were productive. If you're wanting to come and have a conversation with us, that is perfectly fine. And we respect and we actually appreciate the support by coming on and sharing your perspectives, because we are talking about you as an atheist. Mm-hmm. And if you want to provide clarity, if you want to provide conversation, or if you want to just discuss ideology in general, we can do that. But in reality, you're going to have to stand firm in your beliefs as we do ours, because the moment you start to feel discomfort, you cannot start to insult.
Yeah, or get mad and say that we're doing this to you. No, the point of this is for us to have dialect and dialogue about disagreeing, right? Mm-hmm. So just because I don't agree with atheism doesn't mean I'm insulting you. You can't get upset about, I'm a Christian, my wife is a Christian, so you can't get mad that we don't agree with your ideology. As an atheist, we don't agree. So just because we do not agree does not mean we're insulting. We're going to push back on your ideology. So you can't get mad at we're pushing on your ideology. You have to stand on what you believe in, and we're going to ask you about it.
And
just
also,
like you would do the same thing to us.
for anybody who may be the first time viewing, Brenda's been on the channel 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
So he knows how we get down. He knows who we are and what we believe in. We've discussed this prior to. So for him to come on here and act brand new is very interesting. But I wanted you to pull up this scripture.
I'm an old school liberal, and these far left people are lost.
Yeah. Again, y'all, we're gonna pray for Brenda. We truly are, because the point, regardless if Brenda gets it or not, or understands our perspective or not, the reality is someone is at a pivotal point right now in their life, and they may be watching. And the pivotal point is the rejection of Christ or the development of a relationship with him. And what we find with most of the atheists is that they once had a relationship with Christ. They once believed. And so our question is always, what point of rejection did you come to where, what happened in your life where you came to a point of rejection, rather than delving a bit deeper as to why? Because the question why goes very far in this life. But I think sometimes we become so fatigued in our suffering that we don't have the stamina to continue to ask why. And so with Christ, the deepening of the relationship comes from the continuation of why. And when I was growing up, no offense to my beautiful grandmother, but my perception of her was, why questioning God is wrong, right? Questioning God. And it's not that she told me questioning God is wrong. She more along the line said, be careful when you're questioning God, right? And what I kind of now as an adult develop and having developed my own relationship with Christ, I now understand that it's quite the contrary. He promotes our questioning. He promotes us wanting to get to know his character more and to delve deeper in him, to where we can feel a sense of confidence within these conversations. But confidence is kind of like happiness or comfort, which is something that you can't gain by actually seeking it. You're going to have to go through a bit of a loophole prior to achieving it. For instance, happiness is gained by purpose. And peace is gained by feeling a sense of comfort in discomfort. That's where you find peace. And so for I think I lost my train of thought. For questioning though with Christ, I find that the discomfort I used to feel when questioning him has now turned to comfort, because now I can verbally advocate for his character, who he is and what he expects. And I think that that's why the 2 commandments, one of them being love me with all of your heart, mind, and soul. Mind is very important. And I think that sometimes as believers, we leave that out. We leave that piece out, the mind.
Exactly. Hey, what's up, Jay? I remember. He said, Malik may now remember me, but we worked together in car sales. I know one thing about him. He's a good brother and someone I've admired for years. He's the definition of a king. I've always respected him for that. Thank you, man. I don't forget you, bro.
We appreciate that. That's very thoughtful. Thank you.
I do not.
He is a king, y'all. He is a king.
I remember. What's up, man? I appreciate that.
Are you bringing up your support? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. What'd you say? I was talking over you. What'd you say?
Oh, I was just telling him I appreciate the support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you bringing up a scripture for yourself, or should I tell you one?
I got mine already ready, but yeah, you can bring up one.
No, let's start with yours.
Okay, yeah, I got a couple. Right,
not a couple, babe. Just one.
I'm gonna just go with one. This is Psalm 14. Psalm 14:1. It says, The fool has said in his heart that there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none who does good. So what this psalm is stating is that only a fool says that there is no God. And when they say that there is no God, they're allowing their hearts to be corrupted, which gets your mind distorted, and you can say things like, truth is not a fact, and fact is not true. We've literally had these type of conversations with people where they start saying things like truth and facts is not true.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you're distorting your mind, because now you're losing sight of truth. If you can start saying that facts are not true, you're now losing sight of anything that could be true. Just like he just said, a definition is not really a definition.
Mm-hmm.
It's we're playing mind games that are pointless.
I think one of the troubling things with atheism is that the foundation, like he said, right? Um he said all atheists don't believe the same, right? We all have different definitions and different this and different that. But what I'll say is, with religion and belief, the baseline for every single person is the same. We all believe in God, and then that is expressed and elaborated on in different ways, right? But the baseline, the definition, the understanding is still the same. And so when it comes down to this psalm, I really appreciate the Bible for its clarity and the way that God helps the believer to have perspective of other human beings and their perspectives. Because even though my MO, like who I am, not that I don't advocate for truth, but me understanding what the Bible says doesn't mean that I go and say you're a wicked da, 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 even though the Bible says that that is what you are. But the understanding and comfort and clarity that I have when God says that, can you bring up the psalm one more time? When God says a fool is a person who says that there is no God. The fool has said in his heart that there is no God. So instead of me calling a person a fool, the Bible already calls them that. I now understand that I am who I am speaking to, and I move and have conversation as such. And sometimes with people, you have to handle them a bit with kid gloves. And it's not because they are children, but it's because what I said at the very beginning of the stream. Sometimes with atheism, us as believers, regardless of what you believe in, the baseline is God, right? And then people who say, I do not believe in God, we kind of put them in a corner like a dirty little stepchild, like, get away from us. You don't what? You know what I'm saying? And so I think that having conversation with atheists can require a certain level of patience.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that
I need to work on that.
a certain level of patience is necessary, but you have to not view them. And I see sometimes in our comments, like, they're demons, they're manifesting, but these are people at the end of the day. And I think that what we have to always hone in on is our purpose as believers is to gain as many souls for the kingdom as we possibly can. And so speaking to Brenda, even though he was a bit insufferable, doesn't mean that the conversation wasn't necessary or productive, because who is watching can have an interpretation of the atheist mind. And that's all we're trying to present here. Because like I said, and I'm being a little long-winded, we cannot make a person believe in Christ. And you as a believer in Christ, you cannot force Christ on someone. But you can ask them about their ideology to make them have a moment, you know?
Yeah, he said, can I ask you guys a question? Yeah, ask
Yes.
us. Ask us. We're always open to questions. Always open to questions. Chuck McNorris says,
Hey Chuck, welcome back.
atheists hate their own belief system. I think he's saying more like atheism is mostly a lack of a belief system. No, it actually is a belief system, but you deny it because you automatically presume that belief system means religion and it means faith. So therefore you decline God and you decline religion and you decline faith. So you think you have lack of faith, but you actually have faith that there is no God. You're putting your soul on the line for the fact that you truly believe that there is no God. So that is a faith. That is a belief system. You are putting your soul on the line for the belief in the faith that there is no God. So you have a belief system. You have a faith system. It's just the opposite of ours. We believe that Jesus is God. We believe Jesus
Can I
rose from
say
the dead.
something, Malik? Can I interject really quickly? I now may understand what Chuck is saying. And I'll tell you why. You know what I think why they get offended when you say belief system?
Well,
They don't have a system. They only have a
it's all over.
belief.
It's all over.
No, I think the shallowness of atheism brings discomfort, because I also believe that a system is something where you just said, we believe in Christ, and then Christ has an elaboration. There is a belief system, there's an understanding, there's a rule, there's a commandment, there's a doctrine, there's a God with a purpose and a mind and a meaning, right? But I think that the discomfort they have with it's not a belief system is because it's actually true. It's not a belief system. It's a shallow belief. It is there a God? No. And that's it. And that can feel very uncomfortable, if you want to be honest. That can feel very discouraging, because while you're watching everybody in their purpose and understanding, trying to discover the elaborate function of this life, the purpose, the questions, and we have doctrine and things to reference to be able to fulfill that, it kind of brings us a certain level of joy. It's like rich people, right? And I've told you this analogy before. It's like rich people talking and being like, yeah, and today I ate and I did this and I did that, and oh my gosh, like, life is so good. I'm so grateful to be rich. And the poor are on looking angry. There's a level of shallowness, a level of poverty, a level of where a richness is in a belief system, a
Yeah.
belief system.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I still think that I agree with what you're saying, but I don't want them to escape from it, because it gives them an out. They can't escape that they have faith, because at the end of the day, this is
He
true.
just said it. It feels like a lack of belief system to me. I'm not convinced that God of the Bible exists. You see, it's very shallow. It's only no. That's their entire existence. No, nothing. No. And then when you say there's nothing, or there's darkness, or there's what is after this, a sense of anger comes. Why are you asking me that? I don't believe that. But that is your entire belief.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah, that's why I don't want them to escape the fact that they have a faith. Here's why. Because when you peel back the layers, right? Because at the end of the day, like we just did with Brenda here, like we like to have the conversation in the debate between Christians and atheists, or Christians and Muslims, or Christians and this, right? People like to listen to the debates. But when we throw out the debates, right? Let's get down to the real. Throw out the debates, throw out the conversations that go in circles, and you ask the question, are you okay as an atheist when you pass this earth ceasing to exist? Are you okay with going to utter darkness and no longer existing when you pass this earth? Yes or no? That's the real question, because that's what you're putting your faith in. You're putting your faith in when I pass away, because 1 out of 1 will pass this earth. So when you pass this earth, are you okay with going into utter darkness and ceasing to exist? That's the real question. I don't care about any of these things about evolution and Big Bang Theory and the mind and the brain and this and that. These are dumb questions. These are dumb things that are just going to go in circles because everyone is trying to be smarter than each other. The real question is, are you okay with ceasing to exist when you die? Because that's what atheism is. My God is offering something that atheism isn't, which is eternal life, no more suffering, no more pain, no more tears. Because if I'm right, I've had everything to gain. If you're wrong, you have everything to lose.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to put it in that perspective. That is the bottom line. Is the risk worth it? Is the risk worth it, right? And if you say yes, you are quite the gambler. And that is something that I don't think that there should be an anger towards believers, or a belittling towards believers, because they're not willing to make that risk. They're not willing to take that risk. That's just the reality. People who believe in God understand that I need to be 100% sure that God does not exist for me to take that risk. And none of us can be.
Nope.
Nobody walking this
Nobody
earth
can
can
be
be
100%
100% sure that God does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being a fact, because facts are real, if you cannot be 100% sure, are you willing to risk your life for even 1% of the possibility? And if your answer is yes, then you're foolish.
This guy, see, I don't like this. People like Alex O'Connor uses this Pascal's wager, right? It's basically a sense of, well, believing in that God exists is the only option I have. So what else do you have to lose? But that's the reality. You don't like the reality, but the reality is, if I'm wrong about God existing, what do I lose? Nothing. If I'm wrong about God existing, what do I lose as a Christian? Nothing. But if you're wrong as an atheist that God does actually exist, if you're wrong that God actually does exist, you have everything to lose. Because the Bible doesn't just say that you're going to cease to exist. This is the difference. The Bible doesn't just say that believers and non-believers just cease to exist. No. The Bible tells us that our spirits, our souls live forever. So our souls are going somewhere. But that's the reality. The reality of it is you don't like Pascal's wager because it's the actual only true way to look at it. And it's so simple, but yet you don't like it. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, I was reading the comment. You lose a whole life you will have wasted for a false idol. But Darth, the question is, what does it matter? What does this life matter? If I worship a false idol my entire life and then I die and there's nothing, what does it matter?
But if I'm worshiping the true God my entire life, and he does exist, but yet you deny that he does exist.
Skeptically pissed. Your name is interesting. Who is arrogant? The person who withholds belief until they have convincing evidence, or the person who thinks the universe was made with them in mind and them specifically? I don't think this is a question of arrogance. Not a question of arrogance at all. I think that this is a question of logic. The person who withholds belief until they have convincing evidence means that you're waiting to be convinced. You're waiting. You're just waiting. That's what you're spending your life doing. You're waiting until something satisfies you to where you can be convinced. There's no faith.
I think that's where all atheists are. I think all atheists are waiting to be convinced.
Well, it's pretty cowardice because there's no necessity of faith.
Mm-hmm.
There's no put your heart on the line, put nothing on the line.
Yeah.
There's no extension of self. There's just you, a bump on the log, waiting to be convinced. And if that's how you want to live your life, that's fine. But I don't think that's a matter of arrogance. I think that's illogical. I think a person in life should seek purpose, should seek understanding, should seek meaning, should explore this world. Like even when with y'all have this this idolization of science, right? Which we don't doubt science. Science is fully capable of discovering and observing. But
It's
even if you it's complementary. It's very much complementary. But even if you discover and observe everything of this universe, you still can't answer the question of who or why, only what. And so I think as a person, why is it arrogant to seek answers to the question and understand the who and the why.
Mm-hmm. This is a good question. What if it's the wrong God? This is a very, very, very good question.
Mm-hmm.
Very good question. What if it's the wrong God, right? Because people will say, well, how do you know Christianity is true? How do you know that Islam is not true? How do you know that Hinduism is not true? You know, how do you know Buddhism is not true? How do you know that Christianity is the truth and not any of these? And I say to you that if you truly want to know, not just what people are telling you, because I can tell you what I did for myself. I looked into all of them. I looked into Judaism. I looked into Christianity. I looked into Islam. I looked into Hinduism. I looked into Buddhism. I looked into them. And you know what all of them had in common? All of them had in common. All of them mention Jesus Christ. All of them. All of them either mention him by name or they take his verbatim teachings. All of them. Do the research for yourself. Every single major religion, we're not talking about the ones like, you know, like David Koresh, where they're just making cults. Every single major religion in the world uses the name Jesus Christ or takes his teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them. So I started thinking, why is every single one of these religions all referring back to the God of the Bible? Every single one of them. That's why all of you know the name of Christ. Some of you don't even know the name of the Hindu gods, Krishna. Some of you probably never even heard that name. But you know why every single human being knows the name Jesus Christ? Is because he's inside of every single religion, even the false ones. You know why? You know why he's in the false ones? Because he's still trying to bring you light, even when darkness is trying to prevail. This is how I figured out that Christianity was true. Because, for example, Islam says that Jesus is not God. Why would their Quran be so dedicated on trying to prove that Jesus is not God? If they have the true God, why are they so if Islam has the true God, why are they so focused on trying to prove that Jesus is not God?
You know what's not in the Bible? Any of their gods.
Exactly. None of their gods are in the Bible. None of their gods are in the Bible. So every single religion mentions Jesus, but Jesus doesn't mention none of them. So this tells you who's the true God. Jesus is the only one that rose from the dead. Go find his body. So when you say, what if it's the wrong God? We do our research. We don't follow blindly. Even Christ doesn't tell us to follow blindly. What does he always say? Love God with all your mind, all your soul, and all your heart. Why is he telling you to love him with all your mind also? Because he's not telling you to follow him blindly. He's telling you to make an intelligent decision.
That's right.
Because he didn't make us to be dummies. He made us with a mind, not just a brain. He made us with a brain and a mind.
Well, wisdom is from him. So why would he want, how could he bestow wisdom without you expressing wisdom, questioning, understanding, getting a confidence in what it is that you believe in? Can you bring up Romans chapter 2, verse 14 through 15?
Romans. Oh, also, we have it pinned in the chat. We have it pinned to the very top of the chat. If you are an atheist and you want to explain your atheism and why you believe what you believe, come on up so we can have a conversation. Because we believe that atheists have a dilemma. Oh, real quick before we bring, you said Romans what?
Chapter 2, verse 14 through 15.
14 through 15. So I'm gonna bring this verse up real quick, but before we go to that, I just want to say we never explained to them what is the atheist dilemma, because we figured out atheists, they in fact do have a dilemma. What is the atheist dilemma?
Sorry, I was checking on Journey.
What is the atheist dilemma?
The atheist dilemma. What we found out is that atheists can't exist without stealing from God. And so the dilemma here is you're going to have to exist in what it is that you say is true to you. If there is no God, then there's no appeal to morality at all. And if morality is only man-made, then we have some questions for you.
Yep.
Have some questions. So listen, if y'all want to elaborate on the atheist dilemma, come on, cam up. Even if you don't want to cam up, just use your microphone. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
But
let's to explain it completely. I'm gonna just tell you simply, the atheist dilemma, because she's a lot more nice and she's a lot more polished than I am. The atheist dilemma is simple. Atheists claim that there is no God, yet you steal from him. That's the atheist dilemma. You claim that there is no God, yet you steal his morality from him. That's your dilemma.
You want the benefits of God, but no cost. You don't want to experience any discomfort or any sacrifice, but you want all the benefits.
And he said,
very interesting.
He said, I'm shocked to see people actually believe it's no God. When I tell you, you will be.
Well, that's what I said, Malik. Rose, I'll tell you, I really am blessed, and it brings me joy to have conversation with atheists. Not like Malik debates. He's more of a debater, but I'm more of a conversationalist. I like to have the conversation because I find that
she's an evangelist.
I you know what I find? And I didn't say that. He said that, y'all. I don't know nothing about that. I'm not an evangelist. I like to converse with people, especially about the gospel. It's one of the most Christ in general is one of the most interesting, beautiful, and comforting topics for me. But what I'll say is, with atheists, I kind of feel sad for them because I think that society treats them a certain way, and where they're perceived to be the bravest and the most outspoken and the most woke, right? Like that's their perception of themselves. I find them to be the most cowardice and the most confused and the most fragile. And so with these conversations, I hope to give them a bit of comfort in the fact that it doesn't matter how far down a path that you've gone, because what is progress? Some people feel as though an atheist like Alex O'Connor, right? He's so far down the path that it's like I could never catch up with it. He's progressed so much further than me. But really, if you're on the wrong path, then the most progressive person is the person who's able to turn around and get on the right path and start there. And so I think that with these conversations, we give people the opportunity to say, oh, let me turn around. And it doesn't have to be the person that we're speaking to, but maybe the person that we're watching. That's watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're trying to get you to get off the train before it takes off.
Well, the train done took off. Get off the train before it's too late.
No. When I think of the train took off, I think of someone like Alex O'Connor. Like they're so versed in the Bible and they know the Bible and they research the Bible and they still reject it. The average person is not like a Alex O'Connor or a Neil deGrasse or like a Neil deGrasse, right? Where they're almost quote unquote scholars when it comes to
absolutely
things, right? We're talking about the extremity of like a scholar atheist, right? Most majority of people are not that. So when I say the train is taking off, to me, I'm thinking of these people who are so far atheists that they call themselves an atheist scholar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Normal people who believe this normally is what we just said. Brenda just said it himself, that I was once a believer and then I had some church suffering. I had some church hurt. I went through suffering. Maybe someone passed away, and so now I'm angry with God, and now I don't believe anymore. Right? Mm-hmm. That's not far gone. You're just on the train, and you're waiting for it to take off. We can grab you before it takes off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that we have to really start to hone in on purpose for believers. Like the conversation with atheists can go again around and around and around. But for believers, we have to understand and hone in on our purpose. And our purpose is to gain as many souls for the kingdom as possible. And so through that, we have to understand that a level of patience, a level of understanding, and a look into their world is necessary. And I think that that last part is where we lack sometimes as believers, because we feel content with the fact that we have the truth and we have faith and we have a belief system, right? And so we have comfort within that. But sometimes the best thing to do is be able to suppress your impulses of self-preservation and to avoid conflict and all of these things, to reach your hand out to help someone else, even if they slap it. And so here we are, and we're not afraid of people slapping our hand, but we do have to put some parameters in place when we have these conversations so they can be productive for not only the people that we're speaking to, but the listeners. Romans, you got it?
Yeah, I got it pulled up. Romans 2:14-15, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You know I'm blind. Zooming in a little bit. Okay. For when Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do the things in the law, these, although not having the law, are the law to themselves, who show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and between themselves their thoughts accusing or else excusing them. And so again, I
like this one.
I like it, but can I just read? I wrote it down, y'all. I wrote down the NLT version for people who are not very versed, because sometimes thou kind of can be a little bit jumbled.
You said
I wrote
NLT?
it down. You can bring it up for them though. Yeah.
NLT.
That's what I like, man. That's what I like. I ain't ashamed. I like a little NLT. It's very clear to me. Even Gentiles who do not have God's written law show that they know his law when they instinctively obey it. Even without having heard it, they demonstrate that God's law is written in their hearts. For their own conscience and their heart either accuse them or tell them that they are doing right. So here, I brought this scripture up because I love it, because the thing is, we all have a commonality as people. If someone was to be on the outside looking in at us, right? They're not people. Like they're on the outside and they're looking in.
We gotta join her.
Oh, okay. What's up, Grant? Let's bring him up.
Grant.
Let's check your microphone. Go ahead, Grant.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Just hearing your conversation, I find it interesting. I think you're misunderstanding atheism in one critical way.
Are you atheist or agnostic?
Atheist.
Okay.
So I think you have a definition that doesn't necessarily meets any requirement to be atheist, correct? Atheists are not required to believe in your particular God or religion, but it doesn't need some other belief system, correct, to reject. I mean, you reject Hinduism and many other religions, correct?
Yes, but not because we reject it. We reject it because we actually look into it.
Yeah. And so you perceive that you have sufficient evidence for your beliefs, correct?
Yes.
And so atheists are saying we just don't see the evidence that you claim that you have, and so there's no reason to believe.
Yeah, but the difference is, right, when I reject.
Before you go, I wanted to correct him. For our specific perspective of atheism, we don't believe that y'all have a belief system, just one belief, which is I do not believe in God. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And it's not even a belief. Hold on. I'll just say to correct you here, we don't see any evidence for it. And so the evidence that you guys have presenting doesn't require a belief. We're just saying that you or those who believe or the perceived evidence is insufficient to believe.
And that's fine. The context as to why you don't believe is your right and your understanding, and we understand that as well. But when you said that our definition of atheism is incorrect, I'll tell you the definition that we understand, and you say it's correct.
Well, I think the difference would be I can hear what you're saying right now, correct? And I'm talking
Mhm.
about when I originally came on, sort of
Yeah.
how you
What do
pinpointed
we
it.
say?
Now, I know I'm not going to go back there. I can take you on your word that this is a much more narrowing of how you think about
I think
atheism.
maybe he's sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, Grant. But I think what you're referring to is maybe what I was saying was I do in fact think that atheists, even though they don't necessarily call it this, I do believe that atheists have faith. I have a faith that there is a God, and you have faith because you have lack of evidence. Because you have lack of evidence, you have faith that there is no God.
No, that's not how. I mean, that's not how you would even describe faith if you took the question of atheism out of it, correct? In essence, faith doesn't require you have this belief set, correct? You believe in something, and there doesn't have to be this overwhelming amount of evidence. And so, faith is sort of this blind sort of belief in something that you may feel or whatever, but doesn't require an overwhelming amount of evidence. Matter of fact, that is faith. And so for atheism, we're not having a faith that there isn't a God. In essence, we're just saying that there isn't evidence for it, at least how we would sort of understand what evidence looks like. And so therefore, you don't have to have faith in not believing in something. You can just not believe in something because the evidence is not sufficient. And so that those two things are two vastly different things. I think you can try to sort of expand the idea of faith and try to include this sort of way of thinking, correct?
So the
But
reason
that would be an unfair way to sort of approach it. And I just don't know if I agree with that structure.
So the reason I say it's still a faith is because we can both agree, even though I'm a Christian and you're an atheist, can we both agree to the fact that I can't see God and you can't see God? Do we agree
You're
to
saying
that?
that I can't see God? Yeah, no, neither one of us know if there is an entity called that is God.
Exactly. So neither one of us can see God, right?
Yeah, and neither of us can see a lot of different things.
We're specifically just
Neither of
talking.
us know if God exists. Yes.
No, not no. Can we see God?
Can we see? No.
No, neither one of us can see God, no matter if I'm a believer or you're a non-believer. So I want to show you something based off of what we believe faith is. This is why I say you guys have faith. The Bible says faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. So you're saying that your evidence shows you that there is no God because you don't believe the evidence that we present that there is a God. So based off of what we're saying is you are saying you have faith in the unseen because you don't have evidence that there is an unseen.
Yeah, that doesn't cover this, correct? Because in essence, the requirement of understanding something, if you're wanting me to believe a position point, and the evidence does not meet a standard in this case, it's still incumbent on the person again making that sort of claim or trying to present that evidence. One's lack of faith in this particular case can't exist because there's no acknowledgement that there is any evidence for it. And so in essence, that would be like saying you don't have faith in things that you don't believe in, but you actually just don't believe in them. And that's just structurally how it works. Faith is actually saying that there's this fundamental understanding of something you want to believe in, and yet you don't have a sufficient umbrella of evidence to support what you believe or perceive to be true. And so in essence, not having some evidence for it visually in this particular case, you're then applying this layer of faith that allows for you to sort of suspend some of the other realities that you need in order to understand what you have as a core belief. And that makes sense. There's a reason why you have a faith, and the reason why your faith is in a particular Christian God. And I think that's reasonable for you to have faith, but to drag other people into your faith construct ultimately isn't going to help your argument, correct? It only undermines your argument because you're saying that you can't see these things, you lack this evidence, therefore you believe, but that then applies to you too. And I think that undermines what you're trying to do.
Can I say something? Can I say
yeah.
So Grant, I think you're misunderstanding what it is that we're saying. Because in one essence, you're saying that you do not have faith, but you trust in yourself that you believe there is no God. So you have faith that there is no God. And I think the language is what
Based
is
off
slipping you up.
the faith is in yourself.
You
No.
believe in yourself that there is no God, correct?
That's not faith.
That's
That's
not
not
faith.
faith.
Okay, so let's look. So again, I think he pulled up the definition, but faith is the confidence and trust placed in someone or something based on sufficient reason, even without absolute proof. You have no absolute proof that there is no God, but you believe it.
There is no evidence, correct, that I can perceive, that I can see, correct?
Right. You can't present any evidence to contradict God, just as you don't believe that or you can't present any sufficient evidence to our perception to where we would accept that there is no God, just as you feel we don't have any significant evidence to present to you for your perception that there is a God. So therefore, we're both dealing in faith in opposite ends.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a gnome right side of your window right now either. I don't have to
There's
have
what?
faith. There's no evidence of it, correct? It doesn't require faith not to believe it. I'm just going off of there's
It
little to
definitely does. It definitely does.
there doesn't require, correct? There is no evidence to say that just gnomes show up randomly, correct, that are animated. And so I know that as a structure of things that is unlikely to be the case. And I don't need faith to not believe it as a fundamental idea. And I think that's where your arguments fall apart. Because in essence,
Well,
then
no,
you
Grant, I think
everything
in
that you
reality,
No,
I
this
think
is just
I think in reality, atheists go into this argument about definitions. That's very odd to me because we can understand definitions in a black and white understanding when it comes down to Christianity or any belief. But for some reason, when we have conversations with atheists, this definition conversation goes on for longer than necessary. We present a definition and then we give you a basis of that definition when we're explaining our perspective. And then for some reason, it never suffices. Why do you think that is?
well, I think there's a sort of a misappropriation of definitions that often happens in apologetics, and I understand why. And even while we're
Is that
talking about,
misappropriation deemed by you, or is that like a universal thing amongst atheists, or how is that? Because there's no
no,
argument of
go
definition
ahead.
amongst believers to the same capacity as there is when a believer speaks to an atheist. So is this something universal amongst y'all's ideology or what?
There isn't an ideology of atheism, and I think that's
Okay,
just what
again, that's what we're going to do it again. You're going to
yeah.
go with the definition
Yeah,
again. That's your argument every time.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that happens is, when you're saying correct, when you're saying something, we can use this as a perfect example. You can say,
Okay.
well, atheism has an ideology, and so you want that to hang up in the air, and then then the argument is I then have to argue at this position that you believe that atheism is an ideology, and yet we can define an ideology. We can say that lacking a belief in something is not a fundamental ideology. That doesn't mean an atheist can't have an ideology. It just means that atheism is in and of itself is not. And so in essence, when someone who's actually understands those words is trying to sort of get you or get someone who's holding your position, so we can on the same playing field of saying, if you are perceiving atheism to be an ideology, well, here are the parameters of what an ideology looks like. And in this particular case, I think you're misappropriating the word ideology as it relates to atheism. And the reason
Right,
you
and
run
I
into
think
this question,
I think I'll just say this and then I'll let you go, Malik. But I think that when you're talking about you're saying we can understand, me and you can start at a point where we understand the definition of a word, right? And then what you'll say is, well, I want to present to you my perception of this word and how you're misrepresenting this word. And so then I'll rebuttal by saying, an ideology is a structured system of ideas about reality, morality, politics, human nature, society's goals. This is the definition by book. But then because of your perception and the way that you live your life and the things that you believe in, you'll reject that. And then we go into a conversation that is very circular because if I give you a definition, we have to both agree on that definition before we move forward. But if your disagreement is only based on your perception, we're not going to be able to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, if your definition of atheism is that it is an ideology, when atheism
Well,
isn't an
my
ideology.
definition of atheism is not that it's an ideology.
Okay, what's your
The
definition?
definition of atheism consists and falls under the realm of ideology by the definition of ideology. This is not Ty Carson's definition. This is Webster's definition, the definition that all human beings go by, because words matter. Words mean things.
Yeah. So the thing is this: when I say that atheists have faith, right? I'm not necessarily saying that you have a faith in a God that doesn't exist, right? Because that would be dumb. What I'm saying is, atheists, because you lack faith in God, you place your faith somewhere else, which is why you don't believe that you have a faith. But you have, every single human being has a faith in something. That's the reason why you get up and you get dressed and you go to work, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, because you're putting your faith in something. You're worshiping something. Every single human being is worshiping something, which means they're putting their faith and their trust in something. And most of the time for atheists, it's self. I trust in myself, so I'm going to work hard because I want the promotion. So it's self-faith. But every single atheist puts their faith in something.
Yeah. So atheism is not considered an ideology by any reputable um, organization that deals with defining words. And so I think one of the problems with, I think, the process of attempting to sort of bombard your way linguistically is that, in essence, for those who may not be well versed in language, and I would just say in how you gain people on your side by being somewhat authoritative in your approach to speaking. And I have to say, Ms. Carson, you speak with quite a bit of force, which is awesome. But making the claim that atheism is just not an ideology, and we can just land on that, and then we can say that it just lacks this belief, and that's fine. That's because there is no evidence, and then you can argue whether or not the atheist position is worthy because, in essence, it has this guardrail that says it needs evidence. But you can argue that, and then you can say that atheists, those who don't believe, have constructed a proverbial wall that allows for them to make these determinations, and you can argue for that. But to then just try to turn it into an ideology, it just doesn't work that way. And I'm sure you can always find, especially in this day and age of the way the internet is designed, you can find niche parts of the internet that will agree with you ideology. But I'm trying to use sort of basic frameworks of what the word ideology means, and it just does not typically, in most cases, include atheism because it is a lack of belief.
Okay, so then let's test it. What do you put your faith in?
There's no need to have faith. I don't think that's a
requirement. What do you worship, or who do you worship?
Don't think you need to worship anything. I just don't think that
everyone.
Huh?
Do you work?
Yes.
Okay. What is something what do you love most in your life?
I would say my family would be important.
Okay. So do you put your faith in doing everything you can to make sure your family has what they should have?
No, because it does not require faith.
It does.
Doesn't require faith. In essence, you're placing faith and you're wanting faith to be this prominent thing, and it just doesn't exist. It doesn't work that way. You can have a
respect. Are you married? Are you married?
I was.
Okay. Did when you were married, did you know for a fact that you and your wife were going to be together forever?
No.
Or did you put faith in that you were going to be together forever?
No.
So you already knew you were going to get divorced. So what was the purpose of getting married?
No, you don't know. You have an expectation.
So you have faith.
No, you have an expectation.
That's faith.
No, it's not faith.
Call it a different word, sir, but that's faith.
No, you do. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So you can play baseball, and you can have an expectation to hit the ball because that's how it works. So you, correct, in this world have an expectation. There's these binary sort of outcomes, And so you don't need faith to do this thing that, given the outcomes of the world and how you navigate it, you have this understanding. A reasonable human being, someone who's a thinking person, recognizes that in this moment I'm going to try to hit this ball, but if it doesn't work out, it didn't work out. And so you can have an understanding of a mechanism.
Wait, I have a question.
Hold on, because I want him to answer this. Because what he's saying, hold on one second.
Okay.
I want to show this real quick, because he said that words matter and words have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So
right, okay, but before you, I wanted to just stick with what Grant was, his example that he was using.
What is faith? Hold on one second.
Okay.
What is faith? Faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
Yes, that those words. Yes.
So putting complete trust or confidence in someone or something. So you had faith and trust in your wife when you guys got married. Yes.
That's not how that works. Correct.
So you did not have confidence.
You can have a absolute trust in someone. Yes.
That's what the definition, you just said you agreed with this definition. Let me zoom in a little bit.
Yep.
This definition says complete trust or confidence in someone or something. That is the complete definition of faith.
Yeah. Correct.
So you just said you had trust in your wife. So you had faith in your wife.
I had trust,
which is faith.
We're going to get into the definition argument again.
You can get into the definition already, but
no, I'm not talking to you.
It's not the case of how. It's not in the case of how. It's not how.
No, I wasn't speaking to you specifically. I was saying this framework always leads to that in these conversations.
Yes.
But what I wanted to ask you, and Malik is making a very good point, and what I wanted to ask you was your analogy about baseball, right? So you don't have faith that you're going to hit the ball because this is how the game works, right? That's correct in what you said, right?
Yes.
So, but what was your reason for hitting the ball? Like, why are you playing?
Because you have trust and you have evidence of your capabilities.
And your capabilities are driven into what goal?
So I'm going to help. So we don't have to do the pretend you're going to walk me.
Well, no, I just want, but
no, I'm going to help. I'm going to help you guys.
Hold on, Grant.
I'm going to help you with faith.
Wait, Grant. Out of respect for the platform, you came on to talk to us, but we want to ask you some questions. So this is your analogy and this is the framework that you've presented. And so I want to ask you questions about it. So out of respect, if you could just answer, that'd be great.
And then
to what goal are you going to participate in the game of baseball? What is your ultimate goal?
I want to make sure I clarify one thing. Trust is an action oriented.
But before you clarify that, could you
I want to make sure
that's fine. We have the definition of faith that you agreed to already, Grant. We have the definition of faith that you agreed to. So we as a whole party on this platform, we understand the definition of faith. And so I'm asking you a specific question about the analogy that you presented.
Yes.
When you play baseball, what is it that you're playing? What goal or objective are you playing towards?
It's to win.
Okay. So therefore you have faith
that
you're going to win.
Because that is action oriented. Faith does not mean you have to have evidence. You can have conviction without evidence. We have a definition. You can have faith that you can win and have no evidence that you're good at playing baseball, and that's
fine. That nuance is fine, but you are playing and participating in the game of baseball for the objective to win because you have faith that you're going to win. Otherwise, you participating in the game would be pointless.
No, you don't have faith that you're going to win.
Then why are you playing?
Because you have the capabilities to go out there to play the game and win, and you're going to put forward effort in relation to someone else's effort, and then at the end, you either win or lose. But
so you're saying the outcome of you and your team playing this game does not matter?
I didn't say that. It does. You playing is what matters.
You have a
Has
desire to
nothing to do
win.
with has nothing to do with faith.
Right?
If you're walking up to say, I have faith, I hit this ball, then you're doing baseball wrong. You're doing
No, we're
any
not
sport.
talking about faith to hit the ball. We don't care about the ball. We're talking about the overall outcome.
If you have faith that you're going to win, you're not playing the game correctly either, because you fundamentally can't just sort of hope and pray that you're going to win. You fundamentally
No, you have a skill. You have a skill. You're sharpening your skill. So when you're sharpening that skill, it's towards the objective to win the game.
And
that's the
evident.
point. But you have no guarantee that when you sharpen this skill and you participate in this game with your team, that you are going to win. You have no guarantee. Therefore, all you have is a trust in your skill and your ability towards the objective to win, which is by definition.
You have a trust, and I appreciate you saying that. You have a trust. You have a
And
trust in your action-oriented.
This is literally the definition.
But faith is not. Faith requires no evidence that you can do it. That's not how it works.
Where does the definition say that at all?
Faith is a noun, correct? It represents a belief or conviction of something that is not seen, or often ideas that are in a particular just conceptual.
We're talking about
This is why at the very beginning of the conversation I said that atheists have this circular conversation about definitions that lead to nothing. And so we have to progress forward in the conversation. That's why we asked you, do you agree to the definition of faith? And then when I positioned the definition of faith with the analogy that you presented, you didn't like it. And so now we're having another conversation about definitions that you've already agreed to. So this conversation isn't going forward.
Yeah, but you're trying to position faith as if people are going.
No, I'm using the analogy that you were presenting.
You most certainly aren't, because there is a clear understanding of how faith works and what realm it sits within.
So is this not the definition of faith? Everyone is saying, okay, let's read the hold on. Let's read the second definition. The second definition, the reason I did not read the second definition is because atheists don't believe in religion or anything spiritual. So it's pointless for me to read the second definition, because this is something that we would, as Christians, would say we agree to. So that's why I left out the second definition. The first definition is based off of having no religion, no Christianity, no Islam, no religion, no doctrine. This is just pure definition. It says having complete trust or confidence in something, someone, or something. So when the baseball team, they go to practice to prepare for the game because they have complete trust or confidence that they're going to win the game on Sunday, or they're going to win the game on Saturday. This is why they practice, to go win the game. They don't know that they're going to win. They can't predict the future. So it's faith that in the future, we're going to win the game because we have trust and confidence in winning the game on Sunday. That's faith.
That. So you guys want to walk around and tell people that the players are having faith that they're going to win. I just don't think anyone who is even on your side would actually agree with that as what is the intent of that. In essence, you can have absolute trust in someone with little to no evidence that person is trustworthy. But ultimately, and that's how faith works. In essence, you don't need any evidence for anything. You're actually just putting this unsubstantiated belief into something. And trust in and of itself, this fundamentals of having something that's evidence-based, that says, I have a fundamental understanding of my skill set and how it interacts with other individuals' skill set in order to play a game. And you can go even further into your Googling, correct? Which is, you can type in faith versus trust. What are these differences? And we can keep playing that game. But all I'm saying is, no one is playing, no one is walking around and saying, hey, my favorite baseball team has faith that they're going to win. You have an absolute understanding that they are qualified to go out and play that game and have a reasonable chance to win, given the fact that they have the prerequisite skills that is evidenced by their prior actions. Hence, there is evidence to believe that your team has these skills in order to do the thing that's in front of you. whereas your claims of God have no evidence to prove that they're a God or exist, other than having a book that its followers perceive as being truth, which is just
okay.
circular logic.
I want to make sure I'm getting this straight because I'm hearing two different things. Are you saying faith is you have to have evidence or you don't have to have evidence?
Faith, you don't have to have evidence.
Faith, you don't have to have evidence.
You did not. It does. It is not you can have a semblance of an understanding of whether or not you perceive something. In essence, someone can present a position point. Like,
Okay.
God. You can say like, Allah. Or you can say Muhammad is the prophet, correct? And
But
you can have a text that says it's true, and then you can believe it. Just like Muslims do.
so
That's a faith, correct?
So are you saying that faith is only if you don't have evidence? If you have evidence, it's not faith.
You don't need faith in that particular case.
But can you have evidence and it still be faith?
You don't need faith if there's concrete evidence.
But can you have evidence and it still be faith?
Can you have evidence and it still be faith? I'm assuming that if you are putting other attributes onto evidence, sure, it still may require faith. Yes.
So you don't have to have no evidence at all and still have faith, and you can have evidence and it still be faith. So no matter which side you go, if you have evidence,
you can have evidence of something that is factually true. Yes. And then you can as a person still hold a position of faith around something that is true, and you can add on to it, correct? So you can have some evidence of something that is a fundamental evidence that's evidentially true, and still come out with a faith-based understanding about this thing that is true. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but
so like you can believe that apples make apple pie. I'm hoping we all agree is a fundamental truth, correct? But then you can have faith that it makes.
But we're talking about faith. So that's why
I'm saying, but apples make apple pie as a concept, correct? Yes, that's a factual truth.
It can, yes.
At least if you know how to bake.
Yeah.
However, if you as a person, not you guys, I don't think you guys would do this, but if you then say, well, if someone comes along and says, well, I think apples can make a peach cobbler too, and you can add on whatever faith you want to it. That doesn't change the fact that you believe one fundamental truth: the apples make apple pies, and then you can put all the other faith components on top of it that are completely baseless. So yes, you can have two diametrically opposed understandings of a factual truth.
Yes. So again, let's really back to the point. The point is, you cannot see that baseball team cannot see the future, right?
The baseball team cannot see the future.
Yeah, I'm using your analogy about the baseball team.
No, they don't. They have no way of knowing the absolute future. No.
So they can't know the outcome of the game. They can only have faith that the outcome of the game is going to be for them to win, right?
No.
Because they can't see. So can they see that they're going to win the game? You said no. So if they can't see that they're going to win the game, that means they're playing the game
with the objective to win.
Having faith with an objective to win.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So you're saying that. So you're trying to place. I get it. We want to make faith an awesome thing, but baseball players don't. No one who plays sports has faith that they're going to win. That's not how it works.
So why are they participating in the game? Just for
number one, they get paid for it. Number two, these are people who are competitive, who have an expectation that
if they're competitive and they're playing with the faith, they're playing with the objective to win. If they're competitive, that's the point.
Yep. Let's get away from the baseball analogy. It's not hitting hard enough for Mr. Green. So
because you can't apply faith, to it.
Let's go back to what we were saying in the first point when you switched the analogy. You had complete faith and trust that you and your wife are going to be together forever. Yes or no?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
You had complete trust or confidence that you and your wife were going to be together forever, correct?
That was the preferred outcome and expectation. Yes.
So you had faith in your wife.
Mhm.
No,
You did not.
no.
So then what did you have? If it wasn't faith, what was it?
So for two adults, correct? You meet and you fall in love, and you think that, okay, we get along, we love each other, and we want to plan a life together, correct? And life happens, and you think that you have the skills to be a good partner, and the other person thinks they have the skills to be a good partner given what they've learned up to that point. And as you go through life, things change, things happen, and things occur that you know
No,
that
I
changes
So, so
I don't
that
negate
changes the
that.
dynamics. And so I think
Yeah.
reducing it to saying, well, I do agree, for some people who may be younger, or who may have gotten married earlier. So I'm almost 50, so I may have been a little bit more mature when it happened. But in that sense, I think you can have your eyes wide open of the realities of life, and you don't have to you don't have to live in at least for me, and I think people who have a sense of the world the way I think I do, you don't have to have a childlike view of the world that you have your fingers crossed hoping for the best. You're trying to work towards something, and you recognize that there are going to be potential outcomes that may not be favorable, but you don't want those, but
Yeah,
you are going to make every chance to make it correct.
well,
That's fine.
the outcome of the action is not.
Because he contradicted himself, and I want him to answer to it real
Go
quick.
ahead.
You said that you did have complete trust and confidence in your wife, that you guys would be together forever. You said that was the preferred outcome. And
That was
then
the
I
expectation.
asked you, I said, so did you have faith in her? You said no. So
No.
if you did not have faith in her, what is it that you had in her?
I mean, how do we end up here? You have love. I mean, love is the thing I mean, love and caring for someone is what you feel. I hope. I mean, what I felt, and I would imagine
that's your feeling.
Yeah.
But you did
So,
you
so
did
we
not,
you can change but you can change the vows moving forward. You can go to all the churches and say, "Hey, with this ring I thee wed, in all the greatest faith and love." But no one is using faith as a construct, and I think I am not opposed to you redefining faith and making it a core tenet of this argument. But then you would have to change how everyone else thinks about it. And again,
I didn't redefine it.
but you're attempting to say that no one uses faith and to say, like, with this, I marry you because
No,
I have
that's
absolute
not,
faith
no,
in you.
sir, that's
And
not
no
that's
one
not
is
what I said.
arguing. No
That's
one's
not what I
arguing
said.
that as a position point at all.
But no, that's not what I
except you.
said. You're misrepresenting what I said. What I said was that's a straw man, because you're misrepresenting what I actually said. What I actually said was, did you have complete trust or confidence in your wife? You said yes. And I said, is that faith? You said no. But by definition, having complete trust or faith in someone or something is faith. And you said it's not. So I'm saying, if it's not that, what is the word for it? You have complete trust and
Yes,
confidence
it's
in
called.
someone. If it's not faith, what is the word?
But so faith requires no evidence that this person is a good
Sir,
person.
you didn't answer it.
No, I'm answering the question. Whereas
No,
faith
what
does
is
not
the
require
word?
any.
What is the word?
Yes, I get the difference. There's two separate entities here, and I understand you got, straw man arguments. However, having trust in someone has nothing to do with whether you have faith in your marriage, correct?
That's what it has by definition. And
you can
again,
have
Grant,
trust
I'm not trying to cut it short. I'm just saying that from the initial perspective that you presented, I know that we're going to have these definition arguments, and so I don't think that they're productive. I really don't. I don't find them to be very productive, because then we keep coming back to the same. Like, we pulled up this faith clip like 6 times. And I understand that you don't want to subscribe to the language of faith, which is fine. But I think that this is a broader, if we zoom out of this conversation into the atheist dilemma in general, I think that the fragility of the faith, or sorry, not faith, because you don't like that word, but the fragility of the belief makes it to where it's difficult to have a progressive conversation if we get stuck on small nuances like this.
We can't use any real words. We have to just use Like
what Grant,
roundabout.
because and Grant, I'm not attacking you, but I just want you to maybe understand our perspective. If Grant doesn't like the word, then we can't use it. But if we bring up a definition of the word and we agree to the definition, we can agree on a definition. But if we apply the word to something that Grant doesn't think suffice, then we cannot use it. So therefore, the conversation becomes a bit circular. But we really do appreciate your perspective and for calling in. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll just make one.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure. Of course.
And I think the reason that we get stuck on definitions is that even in your ending monologue, you're saying that atheism is a belief, and in essence, it's not. And we've already gone through that structure of saying it lacks.
Well, you said atheism was not an ideology, and now you're saying it's not a belief. I mean, again, these are two separate words with two different definitions. And I didn't use ideology for the specific reason of you saying, you don't believe that atheism is an ideology. You didn't like that. So therefore I called it belief. And you don't like that either. You don't like that either. It's not about
me liking it or not. I'm just pointing
out.
But
we put up the definition of ideology and then I applied it to atheism because it makes complete sense and logic. And then you said no. And so then I called it a belief. And now you don't.
A system of ideas and ideals. Is it an idea to say that God doesn't exist?
Yes.
No, it's that no one is saying that God doesn't exist.
Don't pull up another definition. Don't pull up another definition.
Hold on, but in essence, you're at this moment moving the goalposts. Atheism says that there's no evidence that they do not see that any evidence for God. Correct? That there's this God figure. And so you don't have to believe if there is no evidence.
So who came up? Did atheism just always existed, or did someone come up with the idea that atheism could be true?
Has atheism always existed?
Yes. So was atheism just always there, or did someone come up with the idea of atheism?
I imagine atheism has been around as long as humans have been thinking about the universe around them and trying
when
to
they thought about it. When they thought about
someone had to think about it, right? Someone had to think about atheism.
Yes, just like they had to think about religions. I mean,
it's an ideology, right? If you have to think about it.
No. So someone comes to you. Let's say you're early hominins and you're walking. You see the sky and you think it's all magical, and then this person's like, it's of God, and the other people are like that. The other person on the other end is like, that doesn't make sense. Or this other person said the reason that we're here is because you have to go up to Mount Olympus. At some point, someone had to say, is it really going up to Mount Olympus a reasonable thing? Because I don't see any evidence that there's any gods. There's no Zeus up in Mount Olympus here, Greek people. So maybe this structure that we have, of which I don't believe because there's clearly no evidence of it, that in essence, there seems to be a rupture or something that doesn't compute as to the evidence of there being something supernatural in the mountains or any other religion that has come along to explain the natural world. The people who are skeptical of the evidence are not expressing some belief. They're expressing a disbelief in the evidence that you're supplying for that.
We said idea.
It's an idea. Yeah.
You have to have an idea that there could not be a God.
You have to have an idea that the person making the claim is not making sense. Yes, that is how.
That's what atheism is. That's where atheism comes from.
But that does not make it an ideology.
Yes, atheism is saying you don't have any evidence that there is a God. Therefore, we're going to come to the conclusion and think about an idea, which is called atheism, that there is no God.
No, we're saying that there's no evidence. The problem is you're saying that the person that there's this evidence, and then within that evidence, you're saying that you don't believe. But in essence, they're saying that there hasn't been sufficient evidence to support the claims that you're making, which is a vastly different than how you're explaining.
What do you categorize atheism as?
Nothing.
A lack of.
So what do you categorize it as?
I mean, to be honest with you, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't really be anything because really, the requirement is on the people who make those claims. But it is someone who lacks those beliefs in, because there is no evidence there does not appear to be evidence for the claims that are being made.
Well, I appreciate it, Grant. God bless you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your ideology. sharing your understanding. Thank you.
You can
We
call it
appreciate
whatever you want. I know you guys have what you want. Call it whatever you want.
All right.
Thank you guys. I
Have a
appreciate
great
your
night.
time.
Thank you, Grant. See,
All right.
I enjoyed that. I actually really
I
enjoyed
did
that.
too. I think
I actually think Grant was one of our best guests we've ever brought on.
shout out to you,
Grant was respectful. He listened. He talked. He had his own ideas. He didn't back down. And this is what I'm talking about when I say we want to have conversations with atheists. We can disagree without anyone being disrespectful, without anyone getting angry. And Grant is a perfect example of this. That just because he's not a Christian or just because I'm not an atheist, we don't have to get angry with each other. That was what we're talking. This is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Thank you, Grant. God bless you. And we're going
Brenda, take notes.
we're going to pray for you. And hopefully that, the more I want you to keep coming back, because I think the more conversations we have, Grant, the more maybe we can start to bounce ideas off of each other. But thank you for being a good guest, honestly.
We have Falwin in tonight.
Yeah, we have Falwin. I know
Check the
Fal
mic.
was waiting for a while.
Hey, how's it going tonight? Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing
Good.
good.
Excellent.
Let's
Well,
open up with a quick question for you, Fallon. Are you atheist?
Yes, I am.
And have you always been atheist, or were you once a believer?
No, I think when I was growing up, I grew up in the South, and I tell people, went to Catholic school, but my mom practiced the kind of religion that was, when I asked her about God, she said, I talk to God while I'm doing the dishes. So, we went to church occasionally, and then I kind of fell out of it around college, got interested in psychic phenomena where people just like Ghostbusters, they studied it from like a scientific point of view. That sort of fell out with it. And one day I was just like, I don't think I really believe in any of this. So
just for clarity, Ghostbusters pushed you to the rejection of God. Is that right?
Oh, no. Just saying, there's some people who started studying like psychic phenomenon. Like they were like, hey, okay. Is telepathy real or ghost real? But they run around like measuring stuff. That kind of scientific approach interested me. And then I was like, nah, I don't think that's real either.
Okay. So you're an atheist, and if you could put your belief in like a clear sentence for us for clarity, what is it that you believe in? I know we understand the definition of atheism, but you specifically, what is your belief?
Sure. I don't mean in relation to God or what?
However you want to define it.
She's just saying, can you define what atheism means to you?
It's just my position that I have not been convinced that a God exists by any evidence I've seen. Because after all, there could be a divine creator of the universe that did not interact with the universe after they created it. So we'd have no way of knowing about that divine creator, right? If they started the universe and then left us alone like an ant farm, I'd have no way of knowing anything about that divine creator at all. So it's possible that happened, but I just haven't seen any evidence.
Would that make you a bit more like agnostic with the ability to say the possibility versus the strict no?
Oh, sure. And the way I use it, and I may not be correct, I'm guessing both of you know a lot more about philosophy than I do. I use Gnosticism to say, can you know something versus believe something? And it's a mix. So I would say if someone said, hey, I think that there was a creator spirit that started the universe, I'm agnostic. I have no way of testing that. It could be true. It could not be true. I just don't currently believe that it's true or accurate.
Okay. So I got a question. Because I'm kind of curious now, because you gave me a little bit of your background. If you were to find out Christianity were true, would you want it to be true?
I don't think it matters, because I guess I put it this way, I'm being very honest here, right? It's like if you found out, as Christians, if you found out Islam was true, it doesn't really matter what you want. If the God of creation, and that's how they are, you wanting it to be true doesn't really matter anymore, And so I can't answer that because it just seems like a silly thing. Why does me wanting it to be true matter to the creator of the universe? It wouldn't. That's kind of like a silly question to me. It's like, if you found out gravity wasn't true, would you want it to be true? It's like, it's just either true or it's not. My wanting wouldn't really matter, I think, in the face of God, if that makes sense.
Well, the reason I asked that, just for clarifying, the reason I asked that is because we're not just simply talking about gravity. We're talking about, if Christianity is true, we're talking about something far beyond just creation itself. We're talking about eternal life. We're talking about the damnation. We're talking about eternal torment. We're talking about getting rid of the devil. We're talking about a lot more things that are actually outside of our earthly realm, if Christianity is true. So that's the reason why it's actually very important, because if it is true, it goes deeper than just what you see, what I see, what my wife sees.
Sure, sure, yeah, and I guess that's why I struggle with the question. Like, would I want it to be true? Like, no, like let's take hell for example, eternal punishment. In my worldview, it'd be nice if there was no hell, and just instead anyone who did not have faith in God except Jesus Christ was just deleted from existence, because I think that's a kinder thing than eternal punishment. But again, if God is real and that's what God has decided, and God has all the power and the moral authority, my wishing he or they did that versus something else doesn't seem to really matter, because why would it matter? So that's what I mean when I'm like, I don't think it seems to matter. Like, my wishing on it, if it was true, I'd have to accept it as true.
Yeah, see, that's the reason why I asked if you were wanting to think it's true, because now you just gave me kind of some more answers that I was like wanting to hear, right? And I think that a lot of atheists or people who used to be Christian that converted over to agnosticism or atheism, right? I think that a lot of times maybe either pastors or maybe family members are actually not properly showing people what the Bible is actually saying, because the atheist, you just said it yourself, right? If in my worldview, then hell shouldn't even exist, right? But the Bible actually teaches us and tells us that hell was not created for human beings. Hell was not created for human beings. Jesus literally says that hell was made for the devil and his fallen angels. That's the reason why hell exists, because hell was a place for eternal punishment for beings that have divine essence on them, right? The angels in heaven, like the archangels Michael, the archangel Gabriel, and Lucifer was an archangel. They have something that we don't have, which is all knowing. They're all knowing, so they're a lot more powerful than we are. So that's the reason hell was created. It wasn't created for you. It wasn't created for me. And Jesus even tells us this.
Sure. Like I said, I'm an atheist, so if that's consistent with your beliefs, that's great. I was just saying that, for example, I might want it. You asked, like, if I knew Christianity was true, would I want it to be different? I was like, I guess I would, but again, I acknowledge that, like, my wishes in face of the Almighty don't really matter. So I was just trying to be honest with my answer.
Yeah, but I understand.
What's your name?
I just go by Falwin online.
Oh, Falwin. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was addressing you properly. So Falwin, I wanted to get into because you putting your stance on what your beliefs are. I wanted to ask you. So when it comes down to the way you interact with people in the world and the way that you lead your life, do you believe in morality?
It's not that I believe in it. I just accept that if we want to call it morality, how we should treat one another, then yeah, we all have a morality because we treat
like the law of human nature, like decent behavior. You believe in that?
I don't like to say the word believe. I accept it's there. Like I know what decency means to me. I know it's subjective to my culture and society. So I don't believe in it because that seems like a weird thing to say. Like, I don't believe in hamburgers, right? Like, hamburgers exist. I see them. I know they're out there. People treat each other in different ways according to like their cultures and their families. So I just know that morality is out there. So I'm not trying to play word games. It's just, I don't like, it's like if someone says, is something true or is it, or is it really true?
We can frame it a different way. We don't have to use believe, but you do understand and accept morality amongst human beings.
Yeah.
Like decency. Like we understand decent behavior. You and I can both have a conversation and agree on what we believe universally is decent behavior, right?
Yeah. I say caveat just universally because I know there's some people that would think like, something as simple as age of marriage, right? I might say, I don't think you should get married before 18. Someone else might say, I believe it's 13. We might go back in time and be like, hey, 500 years ago, it was 8 years old or whatever it is. So I just want to put that out there that like I don't like using universals, right? Because there's always the exception to the rule. Like we might say, hey, we shouldn't kill each other. Then someone says, okay, but what if that person's going to kill me? And then we have to start doing exceptions. So yes, I agree. Morality exists. I don't think there's a lot of universals. We have to talk about those things, which is what like your show is important for, right?
Yes.
Let's not assume that we all agree that like killing's wrong. If it's like, to save my child, I have to kill someone, like, then you might say, well, then it might be okay.
Exactly.
Or you might say, no, it's still wrong.
But that's why the Bible doesn't say, thou should not kill. It says, thou should not murder.
Oh, sure.
But before,
And that killing and murder is completely different, right?
yeah, well,
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. I because when I asked you that initial question, I wanted to like hone in because you said something that spiked my interest. You said universally, right? There's no universal standard, right? And so I'll give you an example. Is there, do you think that there is any instance where a human being would not understand justice?
Setting aside like intellectual disabilities, like someone literally might not understand the words and phrases.
Or not be inclined to justice, right? I'm sorry, for clarity, not inclined to justice, like not wanting it.
I would say generally no, but like if you had a psychopath, if you had someone who, you know, really doesn't have like feels emotions, they might not have any interest in justice. But that's the exception. I don't want to focus on just the exception to not answer your question. I would say most people have a sense of justice.
Darling, I'm so sorry. My daughter was asking, what did you say? What was your answer?
I said first, setting aside like someone who might have a intellectual disability they can't understand, or like psychopaths who have no maybe, and I'm probably using that word wrong, but someone who has no like emotional feelings towards their fellow men and women, they might not be interested in justice. But most of us have a sense of justice that's been instilled in us as part of our culture, our family, etc. Yeah, justice is probably pretty a common idea for most of us.
Right, and I mean in any understanding, like because when we're talking about absolute, the incapability doesn't discredit the absolute, right? So as far as like a person being disabled or having some type of mental disorder to where they couldn't grasp morality as the standard, we're not utilizing them. So that's what you said. You said we're going to go ahead or go away from the exceptions. So if we make the exceptions exempt, wouldn't that be an absolute or universal? Something that we all would understand amongst human beings.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, sure.
So where do you think that standard comes from then?
Honestly, our culture and ourselves, of course. Like we may have, obviously, you know, I'm sure many of us have experienced people who had ideas ahead of their time. Someone who said, hey, this is wrong before culture accepted it. So I think it's a combination of like, we get it from our family, we get it from our stories, and we get it from our own thoughts.
So I think that the culture perspective is a bit murky for me, because let's just say, for instance, some like we love the slavery analogy, right, or perspective, right? So at some point amongst the entire U.S., slavery was acceptable, right? This was the standard. This was something that nobody really, I mean, maybe many people had discomfort with it, but it was acceptable. This is something that
it was cultural and legally acceptable. Yeah.
Right. And so away from the legality, a lot of people now would say that it was wrong, even though culturally it was accepted. So something that we accept amongst cultures or nations, like, you know, the Nazis or genocide or racism at different time periods have all changed. But we can all say that that wasn't the standard. That was just that was just what was happening at that time. But me and you understand a standard, though. A standard to say that even though that's what they found to be acceptable amongst their culture, it still was objectively or absolutely wrong. Like you would say racism, no matter if that was the standard of their culture, their family. Oh, I was raised this way. It's wrong. Right?
Yeah. And my follow-up would be because, and I think this doesn't get talked about enough, because we've gotten better at morality. And I feel like, and apologize, and I don't want to misconstrue your positions, but I think Christians find a great deal of comfort from what I've seen that they believe like there might be an objective law set, or even if it's not objectively, it's something given by, you know, someone like God who has a great deal of authority, and you should accept, you know, the laws of morality. But this is the funny thing. We all agree we've gotten better at science, right? We all agree that we've gotten better at art since we were more primitive, but it seems like we have struggled acknowledging that, yeah, maybe we've just got better about morality and thinking about these things, and that's why we can say, yeah, it's wrong, you know.
Well, I think I will push back on that a little bit and ask you, where do you see humanity is getting better at morality away from an absolute standard, right? So when we talk about God and his moral standard, we understand it. I mean, even if you don't abide by it or you don't believe in it, we understand it. You can understand the theory, or if because you don't believe in God or you're open to it, you can understand the theory and the basis of what it's presenting. And so with that being said, that absolute standard is there, but I wouldn't say that prospectively human beings have become less selfish, less prideful, less, anything that would negate or contrast the moral standard. I wouldn't make that
Sure.
claim.
Let me see if I can throw out something that might be useful to you. So
Okay.
for a long time, and this is hard to imagine, but people didn't really think that animals felt pain like we did. There was a sense of just, they don't have the depth of emotion. We weren't sure how long they had memories. We weren't sure if they had fears. And again, this is in the literature, and I can try to find some if you guys were interested. But there was an idea that they were more robotic. They were more clockwork. They didn't have the same level of feelings we have. But through science and other ways, we found like, well, no, they do have emotions. They do have feelings. They dream. Animals can dream. And I think that might be an example of going from a more primitive viewpoint, a less understanding viewpoint, to a more enlightened one. And I think that could have an effect on, for example, people saying, you know what, I'm not comfortable eating other living creatures. I might want to focus on vegetarianism or limit, what I eat. And I think that's a case where we can all sort of go that, yeah, maybe animals are more emotionally complex than like we thought 1,000 years ago. And that could be an example of like, this is a moral thing based off science and understanding that we've changed our position. And we don't have to, apply it to like a absolute standard that was given through religion or anything else. We learned more, and that affect our morality. And I'd say one more thing, like, oh, please go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like, I do not have kids. I have friends who have kids. And I've seen, when I was growing up, I got the belt once in a while. I got spanked. But, people who studied kids development started looking and going, listen, like there is an impact on hitting your kids. And there is an age they go through where even when you hit them, you get a temporary gain of them obeying, but you also instill in them this idea that to solve problems, you hit people. And there's been a pushback against that. Now, it's one of those things like, it seems like maybe we actually have gotten wiser over this just by learning more. And those are the kind of examples I would give, because I think we can talk about them, and they're less about like, should we murder babies, or like, is there any value to human life? Like, these are like practical things that I think we might go, yeah, we've maybe gotten better at some of these things over time.
I like that, Fallon. I really do appreciate that perspective. And what I'll present to you is that there is a difference between morality and the belief of a fact. So as you brought to the table the analogy about the animals, right? Great analogy. And what I'll say is something similar. Like back in the, 1600s, they were killing witches, right? They were killing them. And it was because they believed that they had some type of possession, or they sold their soul to the devil. And now they have this ability to do evil or wicked things, right? And so if that was a fact, then the morality component is separate than that fact, because you and I would say, if you're able to kill people, or whatever the witches were perceived to be able to do, cause bad weather, or whatever they were perceived to do, then you would want to put a demon down if that was the fact. If this was an actual thing, this is a demon walking around, someone who sold their soul to evil, and now they're able to do evil things amongst humanity, and there's no combating that. So we would say morally, like just as we put people to death with the death penalty in our legal system, you would understand and think about that separately, right? But
Okay, go ahead. Please finish your. No. Please finish your thought.
So I'm presenting that. So there were people who were putting witches to death. Now, does it make them more moral if they come into the new knowledge that witches don't exist? Actually, witches are not real. So therefore, we don't put witches to death because we're more moral, or we don't put witches to death because witches are actually not real. These two things are not, one concept. There's facts, and then there's morality, and they can complement one another, but They're not something that is a concept to be combined together, if that makes
Oh
sense.
no, I would agree. The same way I would say, like, I think this is to your point as well. Laws and morality are not the same thing.
Right.
You can have immoral laws,
Right.
etc. So yeah, I would agree that facts and morality are not the same. We would hope that they would relate more often than not, but they often don't.
Exactly. So when we come back to your argument about human beings being more moral, I would say that human beings are discovering as we do. We observe and we discover through science and things. So once we made the discovery that animals actually are, they have an ability, more ability than we initially thought, then we made corrections to the
Sure.
way that we operated towards them based on the new belief and the new fact. But if animals, in fact, did not, if it was a fact that animals did not feel pain or they did not, function in this way, the way we believed prior, then it wouldn't be immoral to do certain things to them other than just the perception of one human being. But it wouldn't be a universal immoral, because the rebuttal to that would be, oh, they can't feel anything. Like if I was to cut your leg off or do this or do that and you can't feel it, I mean, of course, from an animal perspective, I'm not sure what they were doing to where it was immoral. But regardless, if I was to do that, the perception of that wouldn't be universal. It would be just based on the person's perception. So I don't know if that's a gain of morality. I just think that's a new understanding and discovery of new facts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if I followed your entire analogy, but yeah, I would just say that if we can say that morality is how we should treat each other or animals, if we've gotten new facts and then we've modified our morality to better fit those facts, I think that's growth, just in the same way that if we're studying art and we learn new techniques and we can make better art, like art is subjective, but we can say, the art we have now, we've learned a lot more about how art works, form, structure, balance, than from like the caveman paintings, which are still very beautiful. I just wanted to say that, I think we can say that, morality can grow and change, absence of a clear standard in other ways, maybe the ways that we don't talk about, like how we treat animals. That was my only point, that it has grown a bit, and we can talk about morality, improving, as a way to look back and say, in the same way science, like medicine does, right? Like we're better at medicine, we're better at talking about things. And if someone says, well, that's just subjective, if I want to drink, Drano, I will, I think we can go, yeah, that's a bad idea. We know better now. We've improved our understanding a bit. And I just think morality it can also be thought of it that way.
Yeah, I think we're able to move past that specific understanding. But I just for clarity, I wanted to explain that what I was saying is it leans more towards a absolute moral, because certain things, when you come into new discoveries, because they're factual, because you change your behavior because of a new fact that you believe is a fact, I don't think that makes you more moral. I think that makes you more logical. And so to say, there was mice in my house, and so I set a whole bunch of mouse traps. But now I believe that there's no mice in here. Does that make me more moral that I picked up all the mouse traps? I don't do mouse traps anymore. Well, there's no more mice. Like the new belief in the fact doesn't make you more moral. It just gives you a new logic to perceive what it is that you're doing.
Yeah,
so we're not less prideful now. We're not less, for our context and the way we believe, we're not less sinful. We're just as sinful as we were thousands of years ago, from our perception, because we really haven't changed in our biological makeup.
Yeah, and I want to have a rebuttal, but I think we've talked to this point. But I'll say yes, I understand. I completely understand your point.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think that it's actually false that we are more moral today than we were back then, because it's actually a fact that when you track the FBI, right? For example, if you track the FBI or the police system, right, from the 1930s till now, we have increased in violent and petty crime. That's it. We have increased in violent and petty crime since the 1930s. So we're not getting morally better; we're getting morally worse. And what I found is the further we get away from God, the more things become subjective instead of objective. And when things become subjective, it's all based off of how I feel today. And if I feel like I want to do this today, I'm going to do it.
I will disagree slightly, and what I would say is, look at it this way. When you say there's been more reports of petty crime and things like that, I would have a couple questions. Is it because our population is bigger? Is it because there's been a shift between wealthy and inequality? Is there more reporting? An example I'll give is you see now often cases of, when police have to wear body cams, for example, we see police acting poorly in many cases. And it's been pointed out to me that how many times did police treat motorists or others, minorities, people without power poorly, but it never got reported because we didn't have the technology to do it. So I'm not saying you're wrong. You may be right that, all other factors being true, but I always try to look at these statistics and go, yeah, but were we reporting as much? Was the population different? Was the definitions of petty crime different back then than now? Because my parents paid like $5,000 to go to college. I paid a lot more. So it's all of a sudden not the same kind of comparison. But I understand your point. I understand the biblical point that like from Adam on, Adam obviously failed, but there's this idea of people live longer. They were closer to God. I don't believe the Bible, but I understand your point. I will say I agree. Like we still have impulses. I think we're still mammals. I think we're capable of violence and greed and being petty. But I also think we're capable of being understanding and empathetic and loving.
For example, what I mean by that is, like, I'll give you a kind of a way to look at it. Is it true that there was more two-parent households, back in the 60s or 50s than there is now?
I have no earthly idea. I have not studied that. If you tell me you've got a source for it, I'm happy to go along with it.
Yeah. If you can look it up. You can actually just look it up for yourself. Maybe if you want to do it now or if you want to do it later. But if you look it up for yourself, don't take my word for it. If you look it up for yourself, you will see that there were more two-parent households back in the day than there is now, right? And they've actually done studies that single-parent households are actually increasing violent behavior between children. So, right. And this is as the years go on. So the closer we get to 2026, right, single parent households are increasing, right? So from the 50s and 60s, we're actually seeing an increase in crime because of these single parent households. So actually, as time passes on, right, as time goes on, right, we're actually getting worse because we're digressing.
Yeah,
we're digressing actually.
This is one of those issues where I feel like I'm just not qualified to speak on, because for me, there's so many issues that go into family dynamics. I mean, I know, for example, my parents stayed together longer, and my dad was a raging alcoholic, and there was a lot of unhappiness, but there was a sense of staying together. I don't know if it was better if they would have separated. And I just, my atheism isn't related to this particular subject. So, while I do understand your point, I just don't think I can speak intelligently about it, whether it's good, bad, at all.
Yeah.
Father, I like you. I like you because you know why? I think that you have good conversation. You're able to progress to a new subject very easily, and I find that to be very refreshing amongst these conversations when we get into these murky waters. When it comes down to belief, because it can be very sensitive and it can draw a lot of emotions. So I just want to say that I appreciate you in your perspectives. But one thing that I'm really trying to drill down with you to come down to a understanding between the two of us is morality absolute? And if we can find that morality, there is a moral law that transcends the want of human beings, right?
The question would be, is there any moral absolutes?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, please finish your thought.
No. I mean, we kind of touched on that. That's all I was going to say. We kind of touched on that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that me and you kind of understood that there is some moral absolutes. If I'm mistaken,
I think what I said was I think we all experience a form of morality. Like I think morality is something we feel, but like you might say, do we all generally feel morality? Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's a moral absolute, and like I said, I see morality as more of a progress of thought, and we're trying to be better at it. It's a process more than anything else.
So my question for you is go ahead. My bad.
That's the reason I asked that is there any more absolutes? You say no. So is it wrong if I decide that, you know, I want to harm a 3-year-old?
Oh, so I see what you're saying. So I would say yes, it's wrong that you're hurting a 3-year-old. Only
But
because
what if I say no? What if I say
oh,
it's right?
sure, you absolutely could. And let
So
me just
that
say
would be
that,
right.
like,
Then in my perspective, I would be right, right?
sure. One thing here, when you say right and wrong in regards to hurting each other, I think we have to say that there's an agreement here that is it wrong to cause someone unnecessary pain and suffering? Now, if someone says, no, I don't agree to that definition, I can't have a conversation with them. So that's what I mean by right or wrong. Like when we talk about morality, right? Like if we're going to live in a society, we're going to say, don't harm children. Harming children is bad. And we may say like, oh, but they have to go under surgery. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're saying unnecessary pain and suffering. To me, that is harm and that is wrong. Now, if you tell me I don't agree with your definition, I can't argue with you. What am I going to say? You already said you don't agree with the definition. But
that's
yeah,
that's kind of my point. So if
sure.
if I say that my belief is, or my thought process is, that harming a 3-year-old violently is right, on what basis do you have to say that it's wrong?
So let's set aside the legal things, right? Well, because that's not what you're talking about.
Nope.
Right.
Let's set aside. I would say this. I would say, to me, it seems that, you know, let's even set aside the science of hurting children and what studies have shown, right? Let's throw that aside. I would say, as a person who has empathy and has been hurt before, I don't want you to hurt the kid. As someone who has had a nephew and seen the pain and suffering parents go through, I don't want you to hurt the kid. I would say, I don't want that kid growing up think that it's normal to hurt other people. And if that's not enough to convince someone who would harm a child, nothing anyone in the world says is going to stop them. I say, including saying, God doesn't want you to hurt the kid. Because, I mean, let's be honest, guys. If someone took a small child you know and harmed them deliberately, they don't care what anybody thinks, God included. So for me, saying like, worrying about God doesn't matter, that's a psychopath or someone who gets off on hurting children. They're not going to be convinced by anything we said here. And that's why I think it's a bad example.
Yes. So
because like it's a
probably
terrible thing.
The real issue that we'll run into, here is, why is that person wrong or psychopathic, or, you know, why wouldn't you want to, like, if we don't have a moral absolute, and that means that we're kind of leaning to subjectiveness, what you think is right, what you think is right. And of course, you're saying I wouldn't want to talk to this person or have interaction with this person based on my own personal beliefs, right? But as what we're trying to figure out is why overall would this person be perceived as wrong? Why?
I think I can explain. And I think the idea is that when I say something's wrong, I'm not applying to an absolute. And I think when Christians often say something is wrong, they are applying to what they see as an absolute. There is no other answer. There's one answer and it's permanent.
No, it depends, because there's not everything for us. There's so for Christians, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just have to clarify that. So for Christians, there's actually something called prescriptive and descriptive. Right?
Sure.
Anything that is descriptive is not an absolute. It's describing something to give us a guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
But descriptive is an absolute, right? So I'll give you an example of a.
Do you mean prescriptive is an absolute?
Yeah.
Prescriptive. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So for example, like when the 10 Commandments, when it says, "Thus says the Lord, thou shalt not murder," this is prescriptive for us, right? This is an absolute. But when you see in the Bible describing, you know, David or Solomon having multiple concubines and, you know, 10 wives, 12 wives, this is descriptive, because it also shows. It never says that it is an absolute that you should marry 10 women or 20 women or 30 women, right? This is a descriptive. So, and it's showing actually when men do this, that they all fail when they had multiple wives. So this is a descriptive of something, not a prescriptive. It's not saying you should do this. It's describing real life scenarios, because God understands we're real human beings in real life scenarios, and real things are going to happen. So it's describing things that actually took place in real life, versus descriptive. I mean, prescriptive is going to be an absolute, like thou shalt not murder.
Sure. Yeah. My point was just, when I say something's wrong, I'm acknowledging that it's subjective. And so if someone says, okay, but what is your objective standard for your subjective view? I'll just say, let's save the conversation. I don't have one because I don't think there is one. That's all I was saying.
So then
to try
everything,
to,
so then everything for you is subjective.
when it comes to morality, we I believe objective things exist. Like the tree outside exists whether or not I live or die, right? I think there are objective things, and I think there's logical things. It's like if I want my friends to trust me, then I should be trustworthy in return, right? That just makes sense logically, and I think that's logically true. But that's the best I can
No,
do.
we're just strictly talking about morality, right?
Yeah. So yeah, for me, I think it's all. In fact, I would say, I mean, God's morality is subjective, but not that it's bad. I think sometimes Christians think subjective means bad.
No,
I
think
think
subjective just means it's all based off of the person.
yeah, and that's why I think like God's laws to people are subjective. He was giving laws, but he wasn't saying I got these laws from outside myself. God is the subject. He gave laws to humans. We consider them objective because they exist outside of our heads, or Christians do, and we're going to follow them. But for God, they were subjective laws.
No, so is thou shalt not murder, right? Even outside of the Bible, is murder an absolute across the world? If you speak English and I speak English, and if we go to Thailand, they don't speak English. We go over there and we were to murder someone. Would they automatically know that this is wrong too?
I assume so, yeah.
So then this would mean that it's not just based off of the culture, where you grow up, how you grow up, if you speak English, if you speak Spanish, if you speak Japanese. It is an absolute that murder is wrong, because we can go to another country and they will still deem this wrong, even based off of their circumstances.
I get your point, but I don't understand. Like, for example, if we went to any other countries and we took food without paying for it, they would probably object, but I don't think that would speak to kind of like universal thing other than don't take my stuff.
No, that's also still a absolute as well. That's stealing. Stealing is also an absolute. Everyone universally, use another example that's actually in the Bible, in the 10 Commandments. You should not steal. You should not covet. So stealing is absolute. Everyone knows. Every single person knows. This is why people feel regret. This is why people feel conviction. This is why people feel a sense of something feels wrong when they steal. That's why they sneak and do it, because they know that it's wrong.
Yeah, but I don't see that has to do with God.
Because it's a universal. Everyone.
No, I mean, hold on. Wait, let me ask this. Like,
speaking the same language, we don't even have to speak the same language to know that this is an absolute.
But here's my thing. To push back a little bit, you seem to be describing just like there's things about a society that are generally universally bad. Like if you're going to have a town and you're going to have people living together, taking other people's stuff is going to be a problem because you can't really live in a society. Like if everyone was stabbing each other, you're not going to have a town, right? You can't live in a town where everyone's murdering each other all the time. You can't live in a town where everyone's stealing stuff all the time.
Why not? That's my question.
Just practically.
Why not? If everything is subjective, why not?
Oh, well, by the very, so again, like let's say everything is subjective. Let's take God out of the equation just for a moment. Like I know you don't believe this, for example, right? If someone was like, hey, I want to go in business with you, and you're like, yeah, we'll split everything 50-50. And then when the checks come, you get 1% and they take 99. You're not going to stay in business with them, right? That's not in your advantage to stay in business with them. That has nothing to do with morality, right? That's just like you lied to me, you broke the contract. I'm not going to be in business. So in the same way, if we're in a town and we're like we're going to respect each other's property, we're not going to steal from each other, we're not going to kill each other, because if we do, that unravels the idea of a town. So it's not so much like that there's an objective, it's just that if you're going to do something like a town, you got to have laws, otherwise people won't stay together and you won't have a town anymore.
No. So like that example you just gave, that's more of going into ethics, right? So when you go into ethics, even as a Christian, I agree with you. When you're talking about ethics, there can be things that are subjective depending on the town, depending on the situation. I'm not saying as a Christian that there's not subjective things, because in ethics, there are some subjective things.
Welcome back.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
In ethics, there are some subjective things, but I'm speaking about the absolutes, that no matter if you are on the East Coast or the West Coast, right? Because on the East Coast, business may be cutthroat, but on the West Coast, business may not be cutthroat, right? This is ethics. This is subjective. But on the East Coast and the West Coast, they both know automatically that murdering is wrong. So I'm speaking about the actual things that everyone agrees with, no matter what. So what you're talking about is ethics.
Well, I guess I'm still trying to struggle like how this relates to anything divine. Because let's say you're right that like everyone agrees like we shouldn't kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a connection between that and any particular God or thing
so
like that.
Now let's connect it. So the reason it's connected to God is because do we agree that to come up with morality, right, you have to have a mind?
Yeah, if you're going to think thoughts, you generally should have a mind. Yeah.
Okay, so then that means the reason it's connected to something divine, because that means that on the East Coast and the West Coast, it's tattooed on the East Coast people and the West Coast people. Something intelligent enough had to think of something to implant it into all humanity. This is where God comes in. If there is no God, that means no tattooing of some absolutes are even there in the first place.
So
the thinking mind has to tattoo some absolutes into your conscience.
Sure. Let me ask you this. It snows on the East Coast and the West Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't think there's a mind behind like snow. It's just weather phenomena, right?
Yeah, well, you're talking about weather. You're not.
Yeah, no. But just give me a little bit of leeway here. Yeah. So my thing is like, if we have a society, a civilization that's going to function on either side, you got to have rules, and people are going to make morality around those rules. Like, don't steal from your brother. How many times were we told as a kid, don't steal from your brother? Kids still do it. So for me, I'm still not seeing a connection to like someone tattooing on hearts. I'm just saying like, so human beings
do we make laws around snow?
What's that?
Do we make laws around snow?
No.
But do we make laws about hurting each other?
Yeah, but that doesn't follow. The point is like snow, we make laws. I'm sure we make some laws, but I'm saying it's a natural phenomenon. I should state my point and not use an analogy. My point would be that because we feel pain, because we're mammals, we have certain ways about feeling about things that are done to us, and those have evolved into laws. And a lot of them are very common, like don't kill each other, don't steal. But that just comes from us being mammals, thinking and having feelings and emotions and memories. I don't see.
So you think it's nature?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, let me put it this way: do you think, for example, that like we eat food because we're hungry? Mm-hmm. It's just natural. We don't need to worry about that. But like, for example, like here's the thing: we see this kind of behavior among animals. We see mothers protecting their children. We see bargaining between animals to give goods to get other services. We see violent animals occasionally being pushed out because they're not wanted. So for me, I'm like, we're just an extension of that.
So then why don't, if we're nature and natural just like the animals, right? Why don't the animals make laws for themselves? Why don't we make laws about lions, eating or preying on gazelles?
Well, that's the funny thing they do. They kind of like, they don't have our level of intelligence. They don't write, but there are social norms that are enforced among animals.
No,
and when they break, what's that?
They just have nature. They don't make laws.
No. What I'm saying though is like, of course, I hope we're not being absurd here, right? We know that like a bunny rabbit is not going to pick up a pen and write a law. I think we like know that.
So we have to do something different outside of animals. That's my point.
No. Here's my point: is that if other animals are like enforcing social norms, like they're like, don't do this thing, we don't want you to do it, in their own animalistic form, they have social norms. Just because we write our social norms down and call them laws, to me, it still shows that we're just animals that are putting our social norms into paper and pen and law.
So then why don't we say it's wrong for a lion to prey on a gazelle?
Why would we? I don't understand the question.
You said we're just like animals. Why do we say it's wrong for a human to hurt another human or prey on another human, but we don't say it's wrong for a lion to hunt a gazelle?
Sure, because kind of like I said about how we've developed our morality, we're better at morality than animals. I know, right? Like that's like that was my point is like, listen, if animals are like killing other animals and they need to survive, we understand they can't think like us. I have a higher standard for us than I do for like a mountain lion when it comes to harm or thinking.
Why do you have a higher
Because we're capable of it.
Right.
But that's just, we've evolved. We're better. I think we have.
It's always been like that since the beginning of time. Has there ever been a time where man did not triumph over animal?
Well, yeah, man wasn't always here. And man was a progression. You like, as far as my knowledge is, like Homo erectus or Homo sapiens, we've been around for about 300,000 years. There's a long progression going back before we existed in various states. So like when we were just primates, our great ancestors as primates, we were not always winning over the other animals. Like I think the human species got down to about 10,000, 30,000 individuals before we bounced back. If we would have lost a little more, we wouldn't be here. So like,
so where did humans come from? If the Earth was here already, where did humans come from? We
evolved. We're primates. Our ancestors are primates.
So we were always here then.
No, wait. Okay, have you studied evolution at all?
No, I don't necessarily believe in evolution.
Okay, really quick. It's like going.
No, I know what it is, but I don't believe in it.
Oh, that's fine. It's fine. But like, to be very clear, it's like, there weren't always Americans. We came from like England, right? We just came from somewhere else. We had changed. So like, there was a time when there was no Homo erectus, no Homo sapiens. Those were primates and branches of primates that slowly developed to where we got here. So we weren't here, but our ancestors were, in the same way that Americans didn't exist, but English people did, and before English, Africans, etc. Like,
that doesn't make sense to me. This is why I have trouble with evolution, because what you're telling me is actually what the Bible would describe as a miracle. What you're saying is we didn't exist, but we existed after them. How did we pop up? If we
didn't pop up.
If we weren't them, but you're saying we weren't them and they weren't us, right?
Sure. Let me put it this way. I'll try to use an analogy really quick and just say like, is that you are not your father, you are not your grandfather, right? You came from a line of people that preceded you, right?
We came from a line of a human, right?
Sure, but eventually, as you go back, like for example, like let's say this way: if, for example, you found out that like if we go back 1,000 generations, right, that at that time people only had like 4 fingers instead of 5, just theoretically, right? Would they still be human? Is having 5 fingers required to be considered human or not?
No, there's still
right.
There's still people who are
exactly. So let's go back even further, and let's say like they only had 4 fingers and they can only walk very slowly. Are they still human if they only have 4 fingers and can't run?
Yes.
So now you're seeing that like there's a degree of humanity that we have to ask, what actually makes us human? And I don't need you to answer that. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But scientists have been like, what makes an ape?
What I'm saying.
Like what makes a primate? Why is a cat and a dog separate? They both have whiskers, they both have ears, they both have tails, they're both small, they walk on all 4s. Is it because one barks? Is it because one meows? Like you have to go back far enough, and there's a lot of reasoning behind this, but there's reasons we divide these things because we have to have a good reason to, and we have to see where their ancestors came from. So there's just a time when there was like things that looked like humans, maybe to us, but they weren't quite
humans. So they weren't humans?
I'm not, listen, I am not a biologist. What I'm saying is that there was
I'm saying that is exactly where you're going. I'm saying that because what you're saying is a miracle. You're saying it wasn't a human, but
here, let me put it this way. So that there are fish that can like mudfish, right? That kind of like suck at the air. They can be out of the water, right? This is not something new, something you can see. There are fish that can like live partially on land. Right now, that's not a miracle. We can see the progress of that some fish get on land. Or flying fish that jump out of the water and glide for a bit and fall back in. Those are just fish that have evolved certain traits, right? And it doesn't even, I don't think you need to even say everything's created to be like, yeah, I could see why some fish, they're still fish, right? I would go, yes, they're still fish, but they have new traits. We were just primates that got new traits. Our brains got bigger. And that's why I was asking, like,
So we were,
okay,
we
let
were
me put it this
still
way.
humans that just we were still humans that just developed. That's all that it is.
No, we were primates that developed into what we now call human. But my point was, like, what makes you human? Like, okay, let me put it this way. You've already said if we only have 4 fingers, we could be human. If we were hunched over and walk slow, we could be human. If we're covered with hair for 90% of our body, is that person still human? You're probably going to say yes to these things. So at what point are we not human as we get closer and closer to resembling an ape? Like, where would you draw the line? Is it our brain size? Is it our tool use? Is it our, you know, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but that's, yeah, go ahead.
Humans have the ability to have a conscience and to have a mind. This is what separates us from all other creation.
Do apes have minds?
Do apes have minds?
Yeah. Do they dream? Can they communicate?
They can dream, but they still have a likeness that's not like ours, which is why we still triumph over them.
Wait, no, that's some poetry you dropped on me, and I dig it. But like, what do you mean a likeness like ours, but not ours? Like, no. Define that for me.
Yeah, so what I mean by likeness like ours is they have a brain just like we, right?
Sure.
So what makes us different than apes?
No, I'm asking you. Like, you said, like, apes and us are different. There's something about them. You said that they have like the same body structure. They have minds. They may dream. So I'm asking you, what is the difference that you can point to?
Yeah, the difference is the conscience, the actual awareness of the conscience. Meaning, apes don't know if they can or cannot reject if something exists. It just is. Nature just is. For apes, that's the difference between us. Nature is not just is for us. It's not just is if I want to harm someone or not. It's not just is if I want to go hunt a prey or not. Not is. Let's have the ability to make decisions, and we have the ability to worship. We have the ability to not worship. We have the ability of true free will. So you don't think what makes us different than any other creation out there? We have true free will.
Okay, hold on. I know you're making a statement, but I want to ask you: how would you demonstrate that an ape does not have free will? How would you test that?
How would I test if an ape has free will?
No, doesn't have free will. You said like apes don't have free will. What I'm asking is like, how would you test that?
Test its ability to not go against its nature.
Okay, so how would you do that? Like, give me an example. Like, what's the nature of any animal where you're
for example,
sure.
you can take an ape or a chimpanzee, right? And birth it from birth and put it in a household with a family, right? And there's with a human family.
Sure.
With a human family. And eventually its nature is going to come out. And there's even been a lot of instances that you can look them up where apes they rip your face off randomly. They can say, I grew this ape up from when it was born all the way till he was 10 years old. And one day he just grabbed my face and ripped it off. They don't know why. They don't know why. They can't explain why. They can't say, well, it's because he was mad at me. Oh, it was because I didn't feed him. Oh, it was because of this. They can't say any of that. Only thing they can say is they do not know why. It's because they can't go against their nature.
No, what I'm saying is, so you're saying like they took a wild animal, they put it in an unnatural environment, away from all the other apes, and they treated it. Hold on. They treated it in an unnatural way in the sense of like it was in a household and expected to do household things and human things, and then you're surprised if it hurts someone.
Exactly, because what? You're helping my case because it cannot go against its nature because it doesn't have true free will like beings. If you put us in the jungle, if you put us in a house, if you put us in the sky, if you put us in the water, if you put us anywhere, we will still be humans, no matter what scenario you put us in. But if you take that ape and take him out of the jungle, take him out of the wilderness, take him out of the wild, and put him in an unnatural, you just said it yourself, an unnatural environment for that ape, he will eventually one day go against that because it's not natural for them. For us, we can be placed anywhere and still be human because we have true free will.
Wait. You're mixing things up here. You're saying like if you take humans someplace and you put them somewhere else, they'll still be human. But you just said that like if you take an ape and put it someplace that is unnatural to it, it will still be an ape. So we agree that apes are still going to be apes and humans are still going to be humans.
Humans and apes. That was the whole point you asked me.
But no, but you didn't show a difference. You said if you take a human and you put it anyplace else, it will still be human, right?
No, what I'm saying is if you take a human and place him anywhere on the earth,
right,
it will still have the ability to go within itself or go against itself. We do it all the time. Do you go against your flesh sometimes? Do you have urges? Do you have urges that you still can go against?
Sure, but I'm confused here. Like
apes do not. If they have an urge, they will act upon it. If a lion,
how do you test that? That's what I'm asking. How do you?
If a lion has an urge to eat, an urge to kill, it will not be able to go against it.
And that's why I'm asking, how are you testing that? You're saying, I believe you. I understand you believe this, right? But what I'm asking is like, if you watch a bunch of apes, how are you telling if they're going against their urges inside their heads? Like, let's say this. Let's say an ape mother gets really angry and just wants to smash her baby ape, right? Mm-hmm. But she doesn't. That's going against her inclination, right? And we can even say, we understand that mothers, all parents get up, their kids drive them crazy, right? They're crying. So let's say that both humans and ape mothers have urges to like push their children away or hurt them because they're getting frustrated. What I'm saying is like, how do you know apes don't resist their urges? How are you testing that? You're just asserting it. So I'm like, how do we know that they're not fighting their urges?
Because they don't have the ability to go against their nature.
No, but that's your whole claim. I'm saying, how are you testing it? Don't reassert the claim. Like, how do you know?
I just told you. If you were to place an ape inside of humanity.
No, dude, come on.
What do you mean?
Let's keep the ape where apes are. Like let's keep the apes in the forest. The apes in the forest.
Oh,
no, hold on.
How to test? You said it has to be tested, right?
Yes. So yeah, we can test in the forest. We can leave the apes in the woods. So let's just leave them in the jungle.
Why? You said tested.
Okay, dude, I can't tell if you're being deliberate or not. Let me put it this way: if you took a fish and said we're going to study fish, and hold on, just 1 second. If we said we're going to study fish and compare it to humans, we're going to take the fish and put it on dry land in someone's house, and then we're going to see how the fish does. That would be ridiculous. The fish is going to die, right? The fish is not used to being in a human house. It's going to die, right? It's not going to act naturally. You're asking, naturally, are apes capable in their own environment of choosing to go against their nature? We don't need to put them in space. We don't need to put them in someone's house to test that. That only makes it harder to tell because you've put it in an unnatural environment. Humans don't need to be in an unnatural environment to go against their will, right? I wouldn't say to test if humans can go against their will, we're going to put them on Pluto. I would just say test humans wherever they live. All I'm saying is if you want to know if apes can go against their nature, why don't we look at them when they're in their normal environment and don't add this added complexity of putting them in somebody's house? Why is that on your list of things to do when we're looking at apes in their natural environment, man?
You just said you test them to see if they can go against their nature.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
So if they're already in their nature, they're just going to do what is, correct?
You're using too many words, man. Like they have a nature. And we're asking, can they go against their nature, right?
If the fish is in the water, can you test if it can breathe air by keeping it in the water?
But but like going to a house doesn't matter.
So you have to take it out of its nature.
No, oh God, hold on. We may be disagreeing. Is this a definition thing? When I say nature, I mean it's natural inclinations. Like my nature might be to love certain foods, or my nature might be kindness, or my nature might be being angry.
No, that's not.
But that's
preference. So
it's just a phrase. I have a certain nature to me. What I'm saying is like maybe this is a definition. I'm just saying like if we want to see if apes can behave different than in a different way. Their urges, if they can behave against their urges, such as, hey, I have an urge to hurt something, I'm choosing not to, because that's what we're asking. Can they choose against their urge? I use nature here. We don't want to put them like in a hospital because that just makes it harder to tell what's affecting their behavior. That's all I'm saying. There's no reason to.
You're asking for a test, right?
Yeah, and let's do it where they are in the forest.
No, you cannot test if a fish can breathe air by keeping it in the water. That's
Okay,
ridiculous.
I should not have. I'm not. You keep changing. All right, let's take away the fish. Let's put it this way. Do you think that if there was an ape in the woods and we're just observing it, right? You're saying that you think if it has a urge, like to hunt or to hurt another ape, you're saying it can't decide not to do that. It will always follow its primal urges. Is that your position?
Because it's an animal.
Sure, 100%. Now, all I'm saying is that if we want to test that, right, we should probably look at apes in their natural environment and see if we can find some way to see if they follow their urges. An example might be this. An ape is very hungry, right? It hasn't had food in a while, but it has a child with it. And we put some food out. Does it consume the food first, or does it give it to its child? Do you think that's a fair test to see if it's only going to follow its own urges, or if it will sacrifice its?
I said its own nature.
I know, but nature is a confusing word. We seem to have a misunderstanding. Like, I don't want to confuse this. So urges, right? Can it give up its own urges to eat because it's hungry and sacrifice for giving the food to its baby? Like, would that be a good test to see if animals can overcome their urges?
But you said urges. I'm saying nature.
Brother, I can't tell if you're doing this intentionally, man. Like, nature is its
off of what you asked. How are humans and apes different? The
right.
Is humans have true free will. Meaning no matter what, we have the ability to go against our nature. We have the ability to go against our mind. We have the ability to go against our conscience. We have the ability to invent. We have the ability not to invent.
I get all that.
No other creation has the ability to create the way we do. No other creation has the ability to invent the way that we do.
I know I understand your point of view. When you say nature, do you just mean urges? Is natures and urges the same word? What's the difference between an animal's nature and their urges? So we can clear this up.
Animals' nature would be their actual their I'll almost say like birth-given ability. Birth-given ability,
inclinations, right? Things based off their biology, like, absolutely. I agree with you. My only point in all of this was like, let's not say we have to put a wild animal inside a house to look at its nature. That to me is an extreme example. In the same way that if we said, let's look at the nature of a human being by putting them 1,000 feet underwater, to me, it doesn't make sense. All I'm saying is, like, if we want to see what is the nature of an animal, can animals overcome their nature? Let's test them in their normal environments. Let's say, hey, again, here's food. The mother's hungry. Will it give its food to its children? Is that overcoming its nature? That's all I'm saying. Because when you drag a wild animal into a lab or a house, that is just weird to me in doing this test. That's not how we determine something's nature. That is very strange to me.
Can there be a atheist ape?
I mean, only in the sense that I think, for me, it's not believing in a god. I have no idea if apes can believe in a god or not. I think it's a weird question.
No, it's
not. Like saying, is a rock an atheist?
I'm telling you the difference. Exactly. I'm telling you the difference between humans and everything else. Can there be a Christian ape?
Again, like I said, I don't think so.
Exactly. But can there be a Christian human?
Sure, and there could be an atheist human.
Why?
This seems weird to me, man. Like, because we are more our brains are more complicated.
Premise. You said we're no different than animals.
No, I never said that. I never said we were no different than animals. I said we evolved from other animals. Our brains are much more capable than many animals.
If we evolved from animals, then we're just like animals.
All right, I think we'll stop it here because that is one of the weirdest like misunderstandings of evolution I've ever heard. Because even you don't think that like because one thing can breathe water, all animals can breathe water.
Well,
You
no,
would
I
not
told you in the beginning that I don't believe in evolution. I don't
No,
believe
you don't believe in it. You don't need to believe in it, but
came
treat it
from
honestly.
all this different stuff.
Treat it honestly. Like I understand. Like here's the thing. I don't believe in the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would never say something ridiculous like, God is Satan, right? Even if I don't believe in it, I would try to represent the Christian worldview accurately, because I think that'd be rude to you if I said God is Satan and you worship Satan. That would probably make you angry because you're like, dude, there's a whole Bible. We have the whole church records. That's not what it says. All I'm saying is that like your view of evolution is not what evolution says.
It wouldn't make me angry. I'll ask you to prove it.
Sure. And I'm just saying like your view of evolution is not right. And so when you bring these things up, it's hard for me to respond because I'm like, it's like someone saying God is Satan and then trying to have a conversation about it. Like, I don't think I can talk to you about evolution because I don't think you have a good grasp on it. Honestly, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying like, I don't understand quantum physics, man. Like, let's put it this way. If you went into a high school science teacher and you told them what evolution is, I think they would say that's not really what evolution is. Yeah, and I say that respectfully.
It doesn't bother me at all because that's what I'm saying even from the beginning. Scientists, people that teach little kids about evolution, I think is ridiculous.
I don't. It's the best what theory we have.
It's not. It's not.
Okay.
Because what you just said, you believe in evolution, and what you just said is there were humans, but they weren't really called humans yet. They were just something else that evolved into humans. That sounds crazy. It sounds crazy to say that they weren't really humans. They were basically humans. They just evolved into humans. So were they humans or were they not?
So I got to go soon, and you'll obviously have the last word. It's your show, right? I will just say this: in the same way that you look at a rainbow really closely, it's not distinct colors; they blend together, right? It turns from one color slowly into another. Evolution is like that. There's a slow process, and sometimes it's really hard. And the best thing I've heard from people who study evolution is like, you know what? We're not arguing about is evolution right? We're not arguing about like, was Darwin right? If you go to any conference where paleontologists are talking, they're arguing about the most obscure nonsense you've ever heard because they're trying to go, we have this huge range of fossils or huge range of life that we know all came from an ancestor, but the differences are so subtle. We're arguing about small little differences to explain how things have changed from one form to another. And just like, when did I stop being a child? Let's put it this way. I grew up. When did I stop being a child? Biologically. There's no point you can say biologically that I am no longer a child. Was it on a certain day? Was it the number of hairs on my head? But we both agree, if you looked at a picture of a child and a grown man, they're different, right? But one changed in the other so slowly that we have a hard time saying the exact moment just off of biology, right? When is someone not a child? When are they a man? When are they an old man? You know an old man when you see it. But could you tell me when I am?
Sure.
No, because it's gradual and slow, and it's so that's all.
You're talking about the maturity, though. It still doesn't change the fact that if you are 10 years old or if you're 70 years old and you're still that same person, you're still a human being. No matter if you're 10 years old and then you become 70, you're still a 70-year-old male, and then 60 years ago you were a 10-year-old.
No, I made a mistake. I was using an analogy and you've taken it literally, and that's my fault. Yeah, I would just say like look into it. I think what you'll find is that evolution is a very slow and gradual process, and things happen over millions of years. So like it is hard sometimes to say like when one species turns into another. We just have to do the best we can because we can't go back and watch it all happen. So, but I'll leave it with that. I actually have to go to dinner with my wife. We're celebrating tonight. But yeah, thank you for having me on, and please give my thanks to your co-host who's not here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, that's my wife actually.
Oh, your wife, wonderful. Well, I hope you guys have a great night, and maybe I'll stop by again. But thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
Oh, bye-bye. Alrighty, y'all. I've been on here for 3 hours. My wife just finished cooking, and I will be back tomorrow. I think me and my brother are gonna stream tomorrow together. So I'll be back tomorrow. I gotta go eat dinner and get my kids. See y'all tomorrow.